A group of students walks through a dark, stone hallway while a system window explains the academy's brutal reality. In this world, you don't just study, you survive through constant incidents and accidents. But here's where things get weird. While everyone else is fighting for scraps, the system drops a massive bombshell about Kim. He's the literal rank number 1 on the integrated rankings, labeled as the strongest support. Honestly, being a support sounds like a backseat job, but if you're the top-ranked player in existence, you're clearly not just handing out bandages. A violent surge of pink energy erupts from the ceiling, crackling like a storm about to break. Suddenly, a massive purple portal tears open the fabric of reality, and an endless tide of monsters, deformed ghouls and snarling wolves, floods into the hall. It's an absolute nightmare. 1 second you're worried about your next exam, and the next, you're looking at a literal demon invasion. This isn't a drill, it's a slaughterhouse. A monstrous wolf lunges forward with its jaws wide open, snapping just inches away from a student's face. Before it can taste blood, a colossal pillar of golden fire incinerates the entire area, turning the corridor into a furnace. The screen explodes into a blur of orange slashes and magical shockwaves as the monsters are ripped apart. The pacing here is insane, you can practically feel the heat coming off the screen. It makes you wonder, who has enough mana to pull off a wipe like that? A woman with vibrant red hair grips a majestic golden staff, her expression cold as she stands amidst the smoldering remains of the enemy. Meet Hong Hyuna, the Ruby Tower Master and a confirmed S-rank beast. She's the definition of, don't mess with me, and her power is clearly off the charts. But then, the camera shifts to Kim, who's diving through the air like a meteor, his sword wreathed in a terrifying purple glow. Wait, I thought he was a support. Because that doesn't look like a buff to me. That looks like an execution. If this is how the rank number 1 support fights, I'd hate to see what happens when he actually gets serious. The real tension starts now. Can the academy handle a support who fights like a final boss? A massive purple shockwave erupts as a warrior slams into the earth with enough force to shatter the stone floor. Kim sticks the landing amidst a swirl of dark mana, looking completely unbothered by the absolute destruction he just caused. Seriously, he looks more like he's finishing a light jog than a life-or-death boss fight. The dust settles in the arena, revealing a jagged, glowing red crystal tucked away in the rubble. This is it, the Trueblood Stone, a legendary item capable of forcing a vampire class to evolve to its peak. You can practically feel the mana radiating off that thing. It's the kind of loot people start wars over. Kim doesn't keep it for himself, instead holding the gem out to a pale girl who's watching him with wide, trembling eyes. He tells her to take it, handing over a literal king-making treasure like he's giving a friend a spare piece of gum. The crazy part, he doesn't even hesitate. As she clutches the stone to her chest, a violent surge of crimson energy swallows her whole, transforming her into a being of pure power. Meet the vampire queen, Carmilla, a newly minted S-rank monster with wings and a gaze that could freeze your blood. She went from a helpless NPC to a literal goddess in seconds, and it's all thanks to him. A system window flashes across the screen, confirming a feat that should be impossible. Kim hasn't just hit a lucky break. This is the 1000th S-rank hero he has successfully raised. 1000 S-ranks. That's not just skill, that's a level of obsession that borders on terrifying. We jump back to the real world, where Kim is slumped in his chair, stretching his arms in a dark room lit only by his monitors. He's hit S-rank in every class and collected every duplicate, leaving him with a world that feels completely empty and finished. He's a god who's run out of miracles to perform, and the boredom is clearly eating him alive. Just as he's about to log off, a bright blue notification envelope pings on his screen, breaking the silence. A hidden message at a time like this? It's completely unexpected, but it might be exactly what he needs to escape this stagnation. The question is the system offering him a new game, or is it about to drag him into a reality he can't just pause? Kim's eyes widen in absolute shock as a massive achievement notification explodes across his screen. After grinding through a staggering 1000 S-rank graduates, he's triggered something that shouldn't even exist, an EX-rank quest to prevent the destruction of the world. Seriously, he's spent years mastering this game, and suddenly the system drops a rank that's supposed to be impossible. It's like the game is telling him his previous victories were just a warm-up for a disaster he didn't see coming. Quick flashes of legendary figures, from crying elven maidens to cold-blooded soldiers and grinning demons, streak across the monitor. The system isn't just adding a quest, it's introducing new content featuring heroes and villains that Kim has never encountered in his thousands of hours of playtime. The hype is real, but so is the danger. If these heroes are entering the fray, what kind of world-ending threat is he actually supposed to stop? Kim's hand trembles slightly as he grips his mouse, the clicking sound echoing in his quiet room. He hits the button to accept, and the screen turns a deep, ominous black with 4 simple words: the quest begins. This is the moment every gamer dreams of and fears at the same time. He's stepping into the unknown, and honestly, the tension is thick enough to cut with a blade. The bright white light of the monitor suddenly engulfs everything, and when Kim blinks, the ceiling of his room is gone, replaced by a vast, shimmering sky. He looks around to see towering green trees and realizes with a jolt that he isn't just playing anymore, he's actually inside the Dragon Slayer Academy game. He's standing right in the middle of the tutorial forest, feeling the breeze on his skin. This isn't VR, this is a full-blown reincarnation, and it's happening right now. Kim immediately pulls up his status window, but what he sees is a total disaster. His name is Kim Ho, but his skills, traits, and equipment are all marked as none. He's a total level 1 scrub in a world where he was once a god. But then, a familiar ding rings in his ears as the system grants him reincarnation quest perks. He's starting from the bottom, sure, but if these perks are as broken as the EX rank quest suggests, the Academy won't know what hit it. The real question is, what kind of cheat did the system just hand him? Kim stares at a glowing blue interface appearing right in front of his face. He's just gotten his reincarnation perks, but before he can even celebrate, another screen pops up, the tutorial quest. Kim looks almost bored, tapping the holographic glass with a casual sigh. He remembers how these usually go, just run away from some low-level slime or a few weak mobs until the timer hits 0. It's supposed to be a cakewalk, a simple warm-up for a guy with his history. Honestly, with his past experience, he's probably expecting a nap instead of a real challenge. Heavy, thundering footsteps suddenly shake the entire forest, nearly knocking Kim off his feet. The sound is way too loud, and the pressure in the air starts to feel like heavy lead. He looks up, and his jaw practically hits the dirt. Looming over the trees isn't some bottom-tier goblin, it's a massive, red-scaled dragon with wings that blot out the sun. A dragon? In a tutorial? That's like bringing a nuke to a playground knife fight. The system isn't just testing him anymore, it feels like it's actively trying to delete him from existence. Kim turns tail and sprints through the brush as fast as his level 1 legs can carry him. He realizes now that the EX rank quest he accepted has completely broken the logic of the Academy's system. Behind him, the sky turns a hellish shade of orange as dozens of flaming magic circles materialize in the air. The dragon isn't just a physical beast, it's a high-tier spellcaster raining down literal meteors on his head. This is beyond difficult, it's a death sentence for anyone who hasn't even hit level 2 yet. If he doesn't find cover, he's toast. Kim skids to a halt, his heart hammering against his ribs as the heat from the explosion singes the back of his neck. If he gets caught in even one of those blasts, it's game over before his new life even starts. But then, the system screen flickers with a new prompt explaining the mechanics of his copy ability. To steal a power, he has to witness the skill's activation and accurately identify the target's name and rank. His eyes lock onto the dragon's terrifying, toothy maw. The risk is suicidal, but the reward is insane. If he pulls this off, he's walking out of this tutorial with the power of a legend. But how do you identify a beast this ancient while dodging a sea of fire? A close-up of the dragon's massive, armored hide reveals the sheer scale of the monster Kim is facing. As the beast prepares to incinerate everything in sight, Kim doesn't flinch, coolly thinking to himself that while this looks like a death sentence to anyone else, it's actually easy for him. Honestly, the level of disrespect he has for an S-rank dragon is kind of legendary. The ground begins to fracture under the weight of the dragon's killing intent, sending shockwaves through the air. Suddenly, a bright, blinding flash of light erupts as a system notification chimes in his ears. He actually did it, the impossible copy is complete. Kim looks back over his shoulder with a smug grin, seeing the dragon still looming in the distance. He's hyped because snagging an S-rank skill this early in the game is basically a cheat code, even if he didn't expect to pull it off so soon. But then, reality hits him. Without a mana engine, he can't actually activate his new toy yet. It's like winning a mansion but not having the keys to the front door. Super annoying, right? He starts walking through the thick brush, but stops dead when he notices the leaves around him aren't just rustling. They're being sucked toward the dragon, the wind blowing violently backward. Yeah, that is definitely not a good sign. The dragon rears its head back, its throat glowing like a molten furnace about to explode. This isn't just a regular attack anymore. The sheer pressure is causing blue lightning to crackle through the sky as the atmosphere itself begins to tear apart. The screen flashes with a dire warning. This is the dragon's strongest move, a terminal strike that ignores basic defenses. Even with Kim's elemental resistance, if he takes this head-on, there won't be enough of him left to bury. The beast unhinges its jaw and unleashes a catastrophic torrent of fire that turns the entire horizon into a sea of white-hot flames. Can Kim even dodge something that covers the entire map, or is his lucky streak about to end in a pile of ash? This is where things get really crazy. A colossal dragon made of pure, jagged blue electricity roars into existence, filling the entire sky with a terrifying hum. This isn't just some flashy spell, it's a literal manifestation of lightning that seems to shred the very atmosphere. In an instant, everything disappears into a blinding white flash as the energy discharges all at once. Honestly, my eyes hurt just looking at it, if that didn't end the fight, nothing will. The world fades to a stark white, leaving us holding our breath to see what's left of the battlefield. A glowing blue system window pops up with a satisfying chime. Tutorial 1 complete. Kim hasn't just survived, he's cleared the first hurdle and snagged a starter kit, including the Dragon Slayer Academy uniform and a train ticket. It's the official, welcome to the big leagues, moment for our protagonist. The screen blurs out as the system prepares the next stage of the journey. No rest for the S-rank graduates, I guess, it's time to move. A massive, old-school steam engine chugs into a crowded station, looking like something straight out of a dark fantasy novel. Kim is finally on his way to the academy, navigating through a sea of students to find a quiet place to sit. He spots a booth with a girl slumped over the table, her long gray hair covering her face, and politely asks to share the space. She doesn't even flinch, making him think he might have just tried to talk to a corpse. He almost turns to leave, clearly feeling the second-hand embarrassment of the situation. Kim hovers for a second, asking one more time if the seat is actually taken before he gives up. Suddenly, the girl, who we now know is Seo Yi-in, jolts awake with a shocked exclamation point popping over her head. She gives a hesitant, sleepy, sure, finally letting him sit, but the peace is short-lived. A hand suddenly slams onto the table with a loud thud as a new voice shouts her name. Talk about a rude awakening. Who is this guy, and why is he already looking for a fight with Kim just for sitting down? The academy hasn't even started, and our boy is already a magnet for trouble. A polite student bows his head while thanking Kim. This guy introduces himself as Go Hyun-woo, and he's so grateful for the seat that he promises to repay the debt to Kim Hyung, no matter what. Kim can't help but think this kid has some serious classic wuxia protagonist energy with those refined manners. But when Kim asks why he was late, Hyun-woo casually mentions he got distracted by 2 dragons on the way here. Kim just nods along, thinking to himself that he saw them too, except he actually almost died. Honestly, these two are already acting like a chaotic duo and the semester hasn't even started. The screen fills with the grand title of the Dragon Slayer Academy. As the ceremony begins, Kim's inner thoughts reveal a massive secret. He has returned to this exact place every single time he's raised a new hero. To him, this legendary academy isn't a place of wonder, it's a repetitive cycle that's actually become kind of boring. Think about that for a second. While everyone else is nervous about their future, our guy is basically playing a new game plus for the 100th time. But that boredom is exactly what makes him so dangerous. Images of legendary students flash by in a monochrome memory. Kim recognizes the names Go Hyun-woo and Seo Yi-in, but as he looks around the room, he realizes these are all unfamiliar faces. Even though the roles are being filled, the people are completely different from his previous playthroughs. It's like the system is trying to throw him a curveball. Seeing these potential heroes standing there with their swords and guns makes the tension spike. If the faces have changed, does that mean their powers have changed too? The gray-haired girl, Seo Yi-in, stares intensely at the boys from across the table. It turns out she possesses a special eye, a broken ability that allows her to see everyone's status as measurable data. She scans Go Hyun-woo and dismisses him instantly as a completely average, C-rank scrub with no potential. But then, her gaze shifts to Kim. The data starts to glitch because Kim is a little different from anything she's ever seen. Her eyes go wide, and you just know the secret is out. If she realizes his stats are off the charts, his quiet academy life is officially over before it even began. The officer's eyes are practically vibrating as the system confirms it. Kim is built different. She's seen legendary status screens before, but this is a once-in-a-decade anomaly that she can count on a single hand. Usually, she'd just suppress a student, but she recalls a piece of advice: when someone is this special, try playing nice first. Honestly, seeing her try to be nice is probably more terrifying than her being angry. A girl with gray hair digs into a bag of snacks, pulling out a massive, perfectly baked chocolate chip cookie. She's leaning into the friendly student persona, confirming she even made these herself to break the ice. It's almost wholesome for a second, but in this academy, you have to wonder if there's a hidden motive behind every crumb. The girl shifts her focus to the mysterious red-wrapped object leaning against the seat next to Go Hyun-woo. She asks if it's a longsword, and Hyun-woo's face goes totally serious as he explains it's a sacred relic of his martial sect. He's choosing to use a basic iron sword for now as his companion until he's worthy of the relic. Kim is just sitting there mid-bite, casually suggesting that maybe a sturdier weapon would be a better idea. His don't care energy is honestly peak. The door suddenly bangs open as a guy with a cheeky grin asks if he can hang out for a bit. Kim doesn't even need to look up to know this guy is dangerous. He's talking loudly, yet Kim didn't hear a single footstep when he approached. That's a master-level stealth feat right there. This is Shin Byung-chul, and he immediately flashes a card, telling them to call him whenever they need something. The vibe just shifted from a snack break to a high-level scouting mission. Who exactly sent this guy to track them down? Floating speech bubbles announce that Dragon Slayer Academy errand service, promising to find anything for the right price. Shin Byung-chul leans in with a confident smirk, even offering to break a few school rules if the coin is right. This guy's got some serious guts, trying to run a black market delivery service right inside the most prestigious academy in the world. It's a genius business model, honestly, but you just know the faculty isn't going to let a rule-breaking service fly for long. Shin laughs through the window glass, admitting his scouting mission was probably a bit too obvious. He calls out the junior for looking incredibly anxious and constantly glancing outside, which made him an easy target for a pitch. But suddenly, the cocky atmosphere evaporates as Shin's face contorts into a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. He lets out a sharp "Hayek," and you can just feel the air in the hallway turn freezing cold. Whatever just showed up behind him is definitely not looking for a delivery. Four students in formal black academy blazers march into the frame, led by the stern, orange-haired disciplinary officer. She doesn't waste a single second, explaining that first-year committee members enroll early and deploy immediately to handle nuisances like them. She points a gloved hand directly at the group, demanding they hand over a specific item that they aren't authorized to possess. This isn't just a hallway scolding. This is a full-blown shakedown by the Academy's elite enforcers. Kim watches the confrontation with a bored expression, thinking these committee members act more like aggressive loan sharks than fellow students. But the mood shifts instantly when jagged blue lightning begins to dance around the officer's hands, revealing her as a rare lightning-type mage. While Shin is internally screaming because he hates head-on fights, Kim's logic kicks into overdrive. He realizes his copy skill slot is currently empty, and a rare lightning ability is the ultimate prize. The question is, can he actually survive long enough to steal the power of the very person trying to arrest him? She pulls her black glove tight with a snap. Since Kim refuses to surrender the item peacefully, she declares she'll have to subdue him by force right here and now. Man, she is really going from 0 to 100 in seconds. Blue electric sparks begin to dance around her fingers as she glares at him. Mana surges through the room, turning the atmosphere heavy as she prepares her lightning magic. This isn't just a threat, the air is literally vibrating with killing intent. Suddenly, a massive bolt of electricity hits the floor with a deafening crack. She releases a warning shot that scorches the ground, making it clear she's done talking. Okay, so, peace is officially off the table. Feet blur against the floor as she lunges forward like a predator. She moves with explosive speed, closing the gap between them before Kim can even blink. She's way faster than she looks. Her hand reaches out like a claw, aiming straight for his throat. She tries to grab him, her movements sharp, precise, and terrifyingly aggressive. If that hand catches him, it's game over for his neck. Kim skids backward, his shoes leaving dark dust trails on the expensive academy carpet. He barely manages to dodge the initial strike, his face twisted in a look of pure shock. Look at his expression, even he didn't expect her to be this relentless. Another blast of lightning erupts from her palm as she follows up. She's using point-blank discharges to keep him on the defensive and corner him. The officer stares him down with a terrifying, cold intensity in her eyes. Kim tries to shout that he's not an accomplice to whatever crime she's imagining, but she isn't listening to a word. She's totally tuned him out at this point, and it's honestly scary. A single, lonely chocolate chip cookie lies crumbled on the rug between them. She points down at the ruined snack, claiming that Kim made her drop it during the scuffle. Wait, is she actually serious right now? Kim stares at the cookie in pure, unadulterated disbelief. He's completely frozen, realizing she's using a ruined snack as a justification for a high-level magic duel. I'd be confused too, man. It's just a cookie. The screen flashes with the series logo as the tension hits its absolute peak. The narrative is shifting from a simple arrest into a full-blown, personal confrontation. Here we go, the real fight is just starting. The camera zooms in on the broken cookie bits scattered across the floor. The officer doubles down, saying anyone would be mad if their snack was ruined like that, while Kim just sighs, calling it a pathetic excuse to pick a fight. It's the ultimate, petty power move, but the scary part is that her lightning is the real deal. Can Kim actually survive long enough to copy the skill of someone this unhinged, or is he about to get fried over a snack? We'll find out next time. Two suited members of the disciplinary committee loom over the scene, their hands crossed in a display of pure intimidation. They're issuing a cold ultimatum: step aside while I'm being nice, or you'll get burned. You can practically feel the temperature in the hallway drop as blue sparks of mana start to crackle across the frame. These guys aren't just hall monitors, they're ready to draw blood if Kim Ho doesn't comply. Honestly, the audacity of these upperclassmen is just next level. Kim Ho stands his ground against the pressure, appearing surprisingly calm for someone staring down a lightning-charged committee. Instead of escalating the fight, he pulls the ultimate, support class, move and offers a dessert coupon for the student cafeteria to settle the ruined cookie debt. The tension breaks for a split second when the officer actually accepts it with a smile, but the real play is Kim's internal smirk. He's silently thanking the system for a brand new skill he just secured under the table. Man, this guy really knows how to manipulate a situation to his benefit. The orange-haired officer, Song Chun-hai, looks totally fed up while talking about a stolen wig prank that apparently went way too far. She gives Kim a final piece of advice: stay away from the informant Shin Byung-chul, before turning her back to leave. As the committee walks away, a long-haired member points back with a lingering threat: I'll remember you. It's that classic villain of the week energy that makes you realize Kim just made some very powerful enemies. The atmosphere shifts into high gear as the true identities of these students are finally dropped like a bombshell. Song Chun-hai isn't just some angry officer, she's the granddaughter of Thunder Lord Song Jae-yoon, carrying the legacy of a literal legend. Then we see Jo Byok, a literal powerhouse who is the direct disciple of the Fist King. These aren't just students, they are the royalty of the Slayer world. Kim Ho isn't just dealing with bullies anymore, he's standing in the middle of a shark tank filled with the world's most dangerous heirs. How is he going to recruit people this powerful? GM Johan grips his glowing staff tightly as the system window pops up. It turns out he's the sole heir of the prestigious Golden Lotus Pavilion, even if he's currently considered a bit of a late bloomer compared to the other monsters here. Honestly, being behind in a place like this is basically like having a target on your back. But then the tension breaks slightly when Shin Byung-chul lets out a nervous laugh, wondering if Kim Ho really started all this drama just for some snacks. I mean, risking your life for a cookie. That's either peak confidence or total insanity. Kim Ho looks totally unbothered, casually admitting he just wanted a front row seat to her rare lightning magic. He explains that he only stepped in to deflect Song Chun-hai's spell to see how she'd react under pressure. Man, this guy is a total strategist, treating a deadly confrontation like a science experiment. He claims it was so fast his eyes could barely follow, but we all know better. He's already dissecting her every move while everyone else is still trying to catch their breath. A beautiful, glowing blue hummingbird made of pure electricity flutters through the hallway. This isn't just some random lightning bolt, it's a specialized hummingbird spell that focuses on speed over raw power. Kim Ho just smirks, calling the previous assessment half correct, while blue sparks dance around his fingers. The crazy part is his realization that the performance of this spell varies drastically depending on the caster's skill. He's not just surviving her attacks, he's literally grading her like a teacher. The trajectory of the lightning bird tells a story that only someone with Kim Ho's eyes can read. If Song Chun-hai were actually a seasoned mage, that hummingbird would have pivoted and shifted its path the moment he moved. Instead, it flew in a predictable line, proving she lacks real-world combat experience and fine motor control. It's actually terrifying. He just dismantled her entire combat identity based on a single second of magic. She has the power, but she doesn't have the soul of a fighter yet. Chibi characters look on in shock as the realization of Kim Ho's genius finally hits. It's wild to think that one single spell could reveal so much about a person's hidden stats. He notes that she's pulling off an E-rank skill with D-rank strength, which means she's sitting on an absolute mountain of innate mana. He's found a literal diamond in the rough, but she's completely unpolished and dangerous. Now the real question is, how does Kim Ho plan to recruit a girl who's currently trying to blast him into smoke? A thought bubble reveals Kim Ho's internal monologue about the girl's lineage. He confirms she's the Thunder Lord's granddaughter and immediately adds her to his mental recruitment list. Talk about a high-tier scout, he's already planning 3 steps ahead. Kim Ho then offers a calculated bit of kindness, telling the group he's happy to share what he knows and to call him whenever they need help. He's playing the generous senior role perfectly, and it works. GM Johan bows deeply, vowing to give it his absolute all under Kim's guidance. Seriously, this guy has the Golden Lotus air, acting like a loyal disciple in record time. A disciplinary officer with blue lightning flickering around his hand tells Kim Ho to follow him somewhere. The atmosphere shifts from a friendly chat to a cold interrogation in a heartbeat. The group can only offer a confused as the tension spikes. What did Kim Ho actually do to get this kind of personal attention? A hand reaches out and rips a dusty gray tarp off a large object. The reveal is finally happening, and whatever is under there is the reason for all this heat. An old, dusty slot machine stands alone inside a train car that's seen better days. The officer explains that this train was once for sightseeing, but now it's just a storage unit for junk. The floor is covered in abandoned crates and the cleanup is clearly far from finished. Kim Ho narrows his eyes, pointing out one specific machine that looks completely trashed. To anyone else, it's a piece of scrap metal taking up space. But for Kim Ho, he knows exactly what he's looking at. The broken screen suddenly erupts into a blinding pink light, flashing a lucky 777 jackpot. It's not a malfunction, it's a miracle. A system notification confirms this is the hidden event, broken-looking slot machine, a legendary must-pick reward. While the Academy sees trash, Kim Ho sees a game-breaking exploit. He grabs the lever and pulls it down with a heavy, mechanical click. The gamble is officially on, but the look in his eyes says he's already won. The real question is, What kind of insane item is about to drop into his hands? A cheap plastic water bottle rolls into the dispenser with a hollow thud. Kim Ho stares at the reward, clicking his tongue in annoyance because the jackpot didn't drop on the first try. His companion looks on, totally confused, asking why he's even wasting time on this junk. Kim doesn't miss a beat, explaining that while the machine itself is fine, the items hidden inside are the real problem. Another lever pull, another miss. Man, the RNG in this academy is straight up disrespectful, but Kim isn't the type to quit when he smells a game-breaking exploit. A heavy, dark aura suddenly looms over them as a blue-haired girl appears out of nowhere. This is Lady Han from the disciplinary committee, and she looks like she's about to ruin everyone's day. She cold calls them out, warning that this machine is strictly off-limits to students and touching it is a one-way ticket to demerit hell. Seriously, of all the people to get caught by, it had to be a high-ranking officer. The vibe in the room just went from 0 to "we're in deep trouble" real fast. Kim Ho leans in close to Go Hyun-woo, whispering a secret plan while the air practically crackles with tension. He tells Go that he's going to test something and that he'll take full responsibility for the fallout. It's classic Kim, always staying 2 steps ahead and using his allies to create the perfect opening. Go Hyun-woo doesn't hesitate for a second, nodding as he prepares to step into the line of fire. You can tell Kim has something massive cooking, and Go is the perfect person to serve it. Go Hyun-woo draws his practice blade and boldly asks Lady Han for the honor of a duel. He mentions her legendary background training under the Sword Empress, framing the fight as a way to settle their rule-breaking through strength. Han's eyes light up with a predatory, excited grin as she shouts, "All right then." Talk about an insane escalation. They're really about to have a full-blown sword fight in the middle of the hallway. She's not even mad anymore, she's just hungry for a challenge. Steel clashes against steel as the two of them blur into a storm of high-speed strikes and flying sparks. The impact is so intense that Han actually looks surprised by the sheer weight behind Go's movement. It's a total deadlock, with neither of them willing to give an inch while the corridor shakes from the pressure. This is exactly the distraction Kim needed, but it makes you wonder, if Go is this strong, just how dangerous is the girl who trained under an empress? The real chaos is only just starting. The orange-haired officer plants her foot and launches herself like a human missile. She brings her blade down with enough force to shatter the floor, but Go Hyun-woo barely catches it on his own sword, gritting his teeth as the air screams around them. Kim Ho watches this from the sidelines, and honestly, he's not impressed. He realizes Go is losing the battle of internal energy because his core is way too weak for this level of combat. But Kim isn't one to let his investments fail so easily. He's got a plan to see what Go is really made of, and it starts with a little system interference. A system window flickers into existence, showing Go's core rank jumping straight from E to C in an instant. Kim Ho isn't just watching, he's actively rewiring his allies' potential on the fly using his support abilities. The duration is tight, barely a minute of peak power, but the change is immediate. Blue sparks erupt as the two weapons collide again, but this time, the shockwave is massive. It's like Go suddenly found a second wind he didn't know existed. The real question is, can he actually end this before the timer hits 0? While the duel rages on, the timer ticks down to 15 seconds, and Kim Ho turns his back on the chaos to face a nearby slot machine. He looks incredibly calm for someone in the middle of a literal war zone as he pulls out a silver coin. The machine whirs to life, colors flashing wildly until 3 sevens line up perfectly. Jackpot. You have to love his confidence. The guy knows exactly how to manipulate the odds in his favor while everyone else is focused on the blades. But what kind of reward do you actually get from a machine in a place like this? Kim reaches into the dispenser and pulls out a simple water bottle, explaining that this specific machine has a guaranteed jackpot trigger. He's been counting the spins since the start, and since players only get 5 silver coins, this 5th spin was always going to be the win. As the gears click one last time, a small blue canister rolls out into his hand. It looks unassuming, but in a world of slayers and monsters, a jackpot item is never just a drink. He's got the item he needs, but with the disciplinary committee closing in, how is this one little can supposed to save them? Kim Ho stares at the machine with a sharp, calculated smirk. He knows that by inserting the silver he borrowed, the pity system is about to kick in. On the 6th spin, the jackpot is a 100% guarantee. Honestly, watching him manipulate the Academy's mechanics like this is both brilliant and a little terrifying. The slots click into place, lining up 3 sevens as a glowing blue canister tumbles into the collection tray. This is the moving ice drink, a jackpot item that carries a prompt warning of bitter cold and a requirement for extreme caution. You just know a drink with a warning label like that isn't for refreshment, it's a high-tier buff with a heavy price. The blue-haired disciplinary officer lunges through the air, her hand reaching out desperately to seize the item. She realizes exactly what he's planning and tries to shut him down before he can even pop the tab. Her speed is top tier for a student, but Kim Ho's eyes stay calm, already predicting her flight path. A jagged blade is drawn in a flash of blue light as a digital timer counts down a single, solitary second. It's a literal blink and you miss it moment where the physics of the hallway seem to bend around Kim's movement. The tension here is so thick you could cut it with that very sword. How is he moving that fast? Kim Ho ignores the frantic shouting and chugs the glowing liquid while the committee members watch in total horror. A massive, pained groan rips from his throat as the freezing energy surges through his internal organs. I don't think brain freeze even begins to describe the agony of your entire mana circuit turning to ice. System alerts flash rapidly across his vision, showing a frozen status being applied and then instantly purged from his body. He stands there, breath hitching as the frost dissipates, and simply mutters that he's fine. The look of pure shock on the girls' faces says it all. They thought he was committing suicide, but he was just leveling up. But with the disciplinary committee's heavy hitters arriving, is a temporary buff really enough to get him out of this mess? A blinding white light clears to reveal Kim Ho casually explaining that the jackpot item he just snagged. He reveals that the item he consumed was a dark ice crystal, a legendary drop from a specialized slot machine's sixth spin. Honestly, who just eats a cursed crystal like it's a midday snack? This guy's confidence is on another level. Terrifying visions of frozen, screaming souls fill the air as the crystal's true nature is revealed. Normally, this thing would flash freeze your internal organs and shatter your soul, but Kim Ho reveals his trump card, S-rank elemental resistance. It's the ultimate cheat code. Most people would be a human popsicle right now, but he's just getting started. Kim Ho sits with a composed smirk as dozens of system windows flicker rapidly around his head. The system is screaming, frozen status applied, followed instantly by, frozen status removed, in a never-ending loop of immunity. Even the disciplinary committee is left wondering if they just saw a ghost or a god. You can tell he's enjoying the confusion he's causing. Kim Ho looks down at a glowing blue device while his teammates practically beg for a second demonstration. He playfully shuts them down, explaining that the skill has a strict 1-hour cooldown and he can't reveal all his cards so early. It's a classic pro-gamer move. He's not just surviving, he's managing his brand and keeping his allies and enemies guessing. The scene shifts to a massive, black steam engine thundering across a narrow bridge over the vast, sparkling ocean. They are approaching Dungeon Island, a place once known as a lawless wasteland crawling with the world's most dangerous criminals. The vibe just shifted from academy life to hardcore survival in seconds. If you thought the school hallways were dangerous, this island is going to be a total bloodbath. What kind of monsters are waiting for them at the final stop? We're about to find out. Ancient scrolls reveal the first hero, the legendary Dragon Slayer, setting foot on this very island for the first time. He didn't just survive the lawless wasteland, he conquered every single dungeon in his path. Honestly, imagining one man taking down an entire island of monsters by himself is just insane. It sets a terrifying bar for everyone else. A hooded figure raises a glowing golden sword toward a blinding sun, marking the moment a new civilization was born. From that total conquest, he founded a city and built the Dragon Slayer Academy to train the next generation. It sounds like a noble beginning, but you just know a school built on top of a mountain of monster corpses isn't going to be normal. The academy stands as a massive stone fortress overlooking a lush, green valley under a bright blue sky. Students are swarming the gates, including a fierce red-haired girl carrying a staff who looks like she's already hunting for her first target. Kim Ho is right there in the middle of the chaos, watching as the courtyard gets uncomfortably crowded with ambitious, Slayer, hopefuls. The mood shifts instantly when a girl with a ponytail and a green committee armband blocks Kim Ho's path, her arms crossed in a power move. She isn't asking, she's ordering him to follow her for a moment, leading him straight toward the student discipline committee room. The way the sign hangs on that cold stone wall, man, you can just tell this is where dreams go to die. A single dim lamp hangs over an empty wooden chair in a pitch-black room, looking more like an execution chamber than an office. They call this place the Room of Truth, and the warning is chilling. Anyone who steps inside never comes out the same. Kim Ho is being dragged into the lion's den before the first bell even rings, and honestly, seeing that empty chair gives me the creeps. What kind of truth are they planning to beat out of him? We're about to see if our boy can keep his cool under actual torture. A stark white document reveals the core of the interrogation, Kim Ho's suspicious snack from the slot machine. The committee is scanning him for every possible debuff, but the results are coming back completely clean. Kim Ho just watches them, internally smirking because he knows the frozen status they're looking for is already ancient history. It's a total stalemate, and you can practically feel the frustration boiling in the room while he sits there like he's just waiting for a bus. The camera pans up to reveal the man pulling the strings, Oh Si-hoon, the third-year head of the entire discipline committee. He's got this terrifyingly polite smile and his hands folded like he's already decided Kim's fate, even as he offers a friendly wish for a good semester. Kim Ho keeps it professional, giving a sharp yes, senior, before heading out the door. It feels less like a dismissal and more like the start of a very long, very dangerous game of cat and mouse. Seriously, that smile of Sihoon's is way more threatening than a regular scream would be. The doors close, and the mood shifts instantly as Chunhai vents her pure annoyance at the situation. They dive back into the logic of the crime. Why would anyone use a high-value slot machine and then immediately chug the prize unless it was a forbidden item? We see a quick flashback of Kim Ho basically inhaling those glowing blue particles while everyone else was losing their minds. They know he's hiding something massive, and honestly, seeing Kim Ho look that reckless in their memory makes me wonder if he's actually getting overconfident. Chunhai is ready to burn the midnight oil to catch him, her eyes practically sparking with a "we got this" attitude. But then the doubt hits. What if they use a high-tier search tool like the magnifying glass and still find absolutely nothing? Oh, Sihoon has to step in and remind her that this kind of hunt takes extreme patience and a very cold head. The tension is thick enough to cut with a blade. If they fail to find the truth, Kim Ho won't just be free, he'll be untouchable. What is he going to do once he realizes they're still watching his every move? We're about to see just how deep this rabbit hole goes. The disciplinary leader stands tall in the hallway, his presence alone enough to keep most students from even breathing too loud. While the committee stays behind to wrap up their investigation, Kim Ho finally makes it into the main hall and casually slides into a row with his group. He actually thanks Seo Yeon for saving him a seat, looking completely unbothered. I mean, the guy just had a standoff with the Thunder Lord's granddaughter, and he's acting like he just finished a boring lunch break. A blue system window suddenly flickers to life right in front of Kim Ho's eyes. It turns out, just being punctual has its perks. He's rewarded with an E-rank weapon selection ticket and 5 silver for attending the ceremony on time. But the light-hearted vibe shifts the moment a new figure walks onto the stage. The crowd starts whispering instantly because he has finally arrived. This isn't just some faculty member. This is the man at the very top. The principal of the academy stands at the podium, looking more like a guy who just rolled out of bed than a legendary warrior. He's got messy, light brown hair and a bit of stubble, wearing a casual tracksuit that definitely doesn't scream authority. But the whispers tell a different story. This man was once the leader of the Dragon Slayer team. Traditionally, this position is reserved for heroes who retired from the absolute front lines, people who have survived things that would give normal hunters nightmares. Even if he looks ordinary now, he's a walking nuke. Kim Ho watches the principal with a knowing, almost pitying smirk on his face. While the other students are in awe of the man's legend, Kim Ho's internal data tells him something a bit more personal. Apparently, this legendary hero just got rejected by a woman for the 5th time recently. It's such a humanizing, slightly pathetic detail that you almost forget he could probably level the building. The principal clears his throat, finally beginning the ceremony with a simple, "Welcome new students." The principal's voice drops into a more serious tone as he explains the heavy history behind the Dragon Slayer Academy. It wasn't just built for prestige, it was founded specifically to prepare for an all-out war with dragons. He reveals that the first hero was incredibly picky about the name, specifically insisting on the word slay. And the reason? He wanted every student to understand that a title isn't a gift, it's a trophy. You aren't an ogre slayer until you've stood over a dead ogre, and you aren't a dragon slayer until you've ended the life of a dragon. The room goes dead silent as the weight of that reality sinks in. They aren't just students anymore, they're being trained as executioners. As the principal's speech drags into serious overtime, he's lecturing the new freshmen about how the fate and essence of a slayer is actually the act of taking lives. It's a pretty grim reality check for day one, and honestly, the mood in the room is heavy. You can tell the students are already hitting their limit. One of them is literally praying for him to shut up because their head is spinning. Kim Ho stands with his arms crossed, looking completely unfazed while his classmate stares at him in total disbelief. She asks how he didn't find that long-winded speech boring, but Kim Ho just gives a chill, almost robotic response. He's used to hearing this kind of talk every single day. This guy is way too calm for someone who just got told his future involves constant killing. It makes you wonder what kind of insane environment he was raised in to find this normal. The camera zooms in on a sharp-eyed faculty member with piercing blue eyes as she issues a chilling set of warnings. She's not playing around, stating that carrying restricted items or sneaking into the academy's lower levels will result in immediate confiscation and massive penalties. The students are actually trembling, noting that the pressure she's radiating is the real deal. If the rules are this terrifyingly strict, what kind of monsters are they keeping in those lower levels? The ceremony finally ends with a simple dismissal to dinner and a reminder to get back to the dorms on time. Most of the students are just relieved it's over, asking, "That's it?" like they expected a big fireworks show or something. but the atmosphere is still thick with tension. It feels like the calm before a very violent storm, and Kim Ho is the only one who looks ready for it. A student named Shin Hyung points to some fresh, nasty scratches on his face, laughing it off while a girl behind him struggles to hold a tiny, aggressive tiger cub. It looks like a light-hearted moment between friends, but the advice they get next is ominous. They're told to eat as much as possible tonight because tomorrow is the official start of classes. In a place that trains slayers, you just know, class is going to be a total bloodbath. Can they even handle what's waiting for them at dawn? A speech bubble floats over the quiet hallway as the long day finally winds down. Everyone is being warned that a massive day is waiting for them tomorrow, and the atmosphere is heavy. It's supposed to be a time for rest, but the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. Honestly, after the principal's cryptic speech, sleep is the last thing anyone is actually thinking about. Kim Ho tosses his school blazer onto the bed as he steps into the silence of his dorm room. He looks at his bed for a split second before completely dismissing the idea of catching any Z's tonight. He knows the gap between the students is already widening, and he isn't about to let anyone get the jump on him. It's that classic MC grind. While everyone else is dreaming, he's preparing for war. Vibrant blue energy begins to swirl violently around Kim Ho as he drops into a cross-legged meditation. He isn't just practicing his breathing, he's attempting something genuinely insane, manifesting a core within his own body. A pulsating, anatomical heart appears in a flash of mana, representing a slayer's ultimate power engine. If he can stabilize this, his mana capacity won't just grow, it'll explode. Digital-like streams of data and mana cascade around him as he calculates the risk of this internal experiment. He's never actually crafted a core in the real world before, but he's relying on the dark ice crystals he absorbed earlier to act as the foundation. A confident, almost predatory smirk plays on his lips as he realizes the pieces are falling into place. It's a massive gamble, but for a guy like Kim Ho, high risk always means a high reward. The scene shifts to Song Chun-hai, who is also sitting in total silence, her room crackling with faint sparks of lightning mana. She looks incredibly focused, her mind clearly stuck on her earlier interaction with Kim Ho. The narrator notes the most chilling part of all: both of them were holding back during their first encounter. If that display of power was them being nice, I can't even imagine the carnage when they finally decide to go all out. What kind of monster is Kim Ho really becoming? A dark, shadowy view of the training ground shows Kim Ho standing tall after the clash. GM Johan is watching from the sidelines, and his mind is racing with a single, chilling realization. He understands now that if Kim Ho hadn't stepped in at the exact right second to fill the gap, the entire situation would have ended in disaster long before a single weapon even broke. Johan stares at Kim Ho's back, totally mesmerized by the man's aura. He calls it the composure of the strong, that effortless vibe Kim Ho gives off while everyone else is struggling just to breathe. It's that gaze, man. A look that seems to pierce through every secret and every weakness. Seeing Johan, who's usually so composed, this shaken up, it really highlights the massive gap between Kim Ho and everyone else. Song Chun-hai sits alone in a quiet room, her gaze locked on her fallen ribbon. She looks down at the floor, her pride clearly wounded after the humiliating loss she just suffered. But then, she looks up with a gaze of pure steel. She whispers to herself that she'll do what she can on her own, blue sparks of lightning mana beginning to dance around her once more. She's not giving up, she's locking in. It's a heavy moment of growth, but you have to wonder if her desire to prove herself is going to make her reckless in the next fight. The sun rises on a new day as the scene shifts to a crowded temporary classroom. The room is buzzing with the typical noise of students chatting and settling into their desks. GM Johan greets Kim Ho as he arrives, joking that he was worried that strongest support might have actually overslept for once. But as the camera pans to the front of the room, the podium is completely empty. The bell has already rung, and the students are starting to get restless, whispering about how their new homeroom teacher is definitely not punctual. It's that classic, quiet before the storm vibe where you just know someone scary is about to walk through that door. A single speech bubble appears as the classroom suddenly goes dead silent. A rugged man is standing at the entrance, catching everyone off guard with his sheer, overwhelming presence. He doesn't even introduce himself formally, instead just smirking at the terrified and awestruck looks on the students' faces. "Judging by your reactions, I guess I'm more famous than I thought," he says. It's a total power move. Instructor Lee has officially arrived, and by the looks of it, the relaxed part of the academy year is officially over. The real question is, who is he going to pick on first? Instructor Lee stands at the front of the classroom, looking more like a cold-blooded mercenary than a teacher. He doesn't waste time with pleasantries, instead pointing a finger at a trembling student and demanding they reveal his infamous reputation. The student can barely get the words out, whispering the name that haunts the underworld, the human butcher. While the rest of the class looks ready to bolt for the door, Kim Ho just watches with those piercing red eyes, completely unfazed by the killer standing before him. A dark, gritty flashback shows Lee standing over a broken body in a ruined city alleyway. In a world where superhumans often let their power fuel twisted, villainous desires, Lee was the one sent to clean up the mess. The nickname isn't just a scare tactic, it's a literal description of his career, as he's executed far more villains than he's ever bothered to arrest. Seeing that shadow of his past really puts into perspective how dangerous this instructor actually is. He's not here to teach, he's here to weed out the weak. Lee lets out a rough sigh, admitting he wasn't even interested in teaching until the principal personally dragged him into this. He looks at the students like they're nothing more than fresh meat, delivering a warning that turns the room's temperature to sub-zero. He'd rather kill a student himself than watch them fail to become a proper slayer. You can feel the weight of that threat hanging in the air. He isn't talking about failing a test, he's talking about a death sentence for anyone who can't keep up. The students sit in a suffocating silence as Lee begins to explain the brutal reality of their grading system. Written exams only account for 30%, and while attitude starts at 10, Lee warns them that it can actually drop into the negatives, potentially tanking their entire grade if they annoy him. He's basically looking for a reason to crush them. But then, the atmosphere shifts as he tosses the syllabus aside. The talk is over. The most important part of the year is starting right now, the practical exams. If you thought the lecture was scary, just wait until the weapons come out. Who's going to be the first one to face the butcher? A heavy boot crushes the grass as Instructor Lee announces the start of the PvP matches. This isn't a drill anymore, students are being forced to hunt each other to prove their worth. Just look at that chalkboard. Lee is putting 30% of their entire final grade on these fights. One loss here, and your future as a slayer is basically over before it starts. The room goes dead silent when he asks for questions, because honestly, who's brave enough to talk back to a guy with a scar like that? Head to the arena, he says, and you can practically feel the collective stomach drop of every kid in the room. Steel clangs against steel with a shower of red sparks as the matches finally kick off. The atmosphere is electric, and the crowd is absolutely losing it because the placement exam is finally live. You can see the scale of the arena now, it's massive, designed to let these kids go all out with their mana. Song Chun-hai is taking it all in, realizing that the rumors she heard yesterday weren't just talk. This is a spectacle, a literal gladiator pit for the elite. Can you imagine the pressure of having the entire faculty watching your every move while you're trying not to get skewered? The screen flashes a deep, bloody red with a single word, deathmatch. This isn't about points or form, the rules are simple and terrifying. The duel only ends when someone's HP hits absolute zero, they get completely incapacitated, or they're forced to scream, surrender, in front of everyone. It's cold, man. If you can't find a way to win, the judges decide your fate, but look at the faces of these students. They're realizing that a loss means a big fat zero on their record. No deductions, no pity, just total failure. The stakes just went from school exam to survival of the fittest in seconds. Kim Ho stands there looking bored as a blue system window pings right in front of his eyes. A new subquest just dropped. He needs to secure a mid-tier ranking or higher to clear the objective. Most people would be sweating bullets, but for Kim Ho, this is just another calculation. He's looking at the screen like it's a grocery list. But then, the text shifts to something ominous. Even with the system giving him goals, there's something else happening on this field that's way more important than a grade. What has he spotted that the other students are too blind to see? The real hunt is about to begin. An older faculty member leans in, his eyes narrowing as he scans the new recruits. He's not just watching a spar, he's hunting for that EX rank potential, the kind of raw talent you can't teach. Beside him, GM Johan watches with a knowing smile, almost as if he's waiting for the world to realize what he already knows. The scene shifts, and suddenly, the atmosphere in the arena gets heavy. Kim Ho steps onto the platform, standing across from a girl with hair like a flickering flame. This is the moment the air gets thin. You can feel the crowd holding their collective breath as these two size each other up. This is Hong Yunhua, and the ruby tower crest on her uniform means one thing: she's a master of fire. But check out Kim Ho's expression. He isn't worried, he's actually smirking. He whispers to her that she's going to have to play along with his act for the next 5 minutes. Talk about being overconfident, or maybe he's just that far ahead of everyone else. Yunhua isn't amused, thinking about how beating someone with name value like Kim Ho will boost her own reputation. But when she looks at his weapon, she's genuinely confused. An E-rank earth staff. That's basically a glorified walking stick that even a rookie mage would toss in the trash. Is he really underestimating her this much, or is that stick part of some insane plan? The countdown ticks down, 3, 2, 1, and the arena literally explodes. Start flashes as a massive wall of fire erupts, turning the entire stage into a furnace. It's an absolute sensory overload. Any normal student would be charcoal by now, but we're talking about the guy who treats the impossible like a Tuesday. Yunhua doubles down, casting a high-level combustion skill to vaporize whatever is left of him. But then, the crowd starts buzzing. Someone shouts, "Did you see that? because a strange sparkle cut through the flames. Something happened in that explosion, something that's got the spectators doubting their own eyes. What did Kim Ho do with that trash staff to make the Ruby Tower's best mage look like she's punching air? The real show is just starting. The Topaz Tower's pride, Hong Yunhua, stares through the fading embers with her eyes wide in total shock. Her massive fire spell just finished cooking the arena, but the smoke clears to reveal Kim Ho stepping out without a single scratch on his uniform. It's like the flames didn't even recognize him as a target. Seeing a high-ranking mage lose her composure this fast. Yeah, that's when you know the power balance is completely broken. A massive scoreboard illuminates the stadium, showing both Hong Yunhua and Kim Ho sitting at a perfect 100% health. Kim Ho just stands there, holding that gnarled, trash-tier staff behind his back while the ground around him is still smoldering. He isn't even breathing hard. Honestly, it's insulting. He's treating an S-rank firestorm like a light breeze on a summer day. Yunhua grits her teeth, desperately trying to rationalize how a support class student is making her look like an amateur. She figures he must have used a dispel skill to cancel her mana, so she slams her hand onto a new, intricate magic circle to up the stakes. She's betting everything on this next move, thinking no low-level dispel can stop a high-tier elemental overload. You can feel the desperation in her eyes. She's not just fighting for a win anymore, she's fighting for her reputation. The ground beneath Kim Ho erupts into a massive, glowing crimson seal as pillars of fire swirl around him. Instead of dodging or even raising his staff to defend, Kim Ho just stays put, looking bored out of his mind inside the eye of the storm. Yunhua's eyes catch something through the flickering light that stops her heart. He's not blocking the spell. He's just existing. The entire stadium goes silent as the fire rages, but the person inside the circle hasn't moved an inch. Everyone is asking the same thing. Why is that guy just standing there? Yunhua is reaching her breaking point, her face contorting in a mix of rage and pure confusion. She's pouring every ounce of mana she has into the circle, but the more power she throws at him, the more it feels like she's trying to burn the ocean. What is he actually doing to her magic? The answer is about to turn this entire academy upside down. A striking girl with vibrant red hair slams her ornate golden staff into the ground, unleashing a torrent of flames that turns the entire arena into a literal furnace. She isn't holding anything back, pouring every drop of her mana into this fire elemental blast to prove that the Topaz Tower isn't to be trifled with. The heat is so intense that the stone floor starts to glow orange, and the students in the stands have to shield their faces from the searing pressure. Everyone is thinking the same thing. There's no way anyone survives a direct hit from that kind of raw, destructive power. I mean, just look at the scale of that explosion. It's absolutely overkill for a school match. The thick smoke and embers slowly begin to drift away, and the girl's smug expression completely shatters as she stares at the center of the crater. Kim Ho is standing right there, looking like he's waiting for a bus, with his uniform perfectly intact and his hair not even ruffled. She's staring at him in pure, unadulterated disbelief, her mind racing as she realizes he took the full force of her ultimate attack without a single scratch. It's that terrifying moment where a predator realizes they're actually the prey. The crazy part isn't just that he's alive, it's that he looks bored, like her tower-level magic was nothing more than a warm breeze. Kim Ho finally raises his hand, and instead of a massive explosion, a delicate but blindingly bright bird made of blue lightning begins to chirp at his fingertips. He casually launches the construct, and it streaks across the arena with a high-pitched scream that sets everyone's teeth on edge. The fire specialist can only watch as the electric blue light reflects in her widening eyes, her body frozen by the sheer speed of the projectile. This is where Kim Ho's tactical genius really shines. He doesn't need a giant fireball when he can just use a precise, concentrated strike that ignores all her defenses. The lightning bird slams into the girl's chest, sending a massive jolt of electricity through her entire nervous system as she's thrown back like a ragdoll. A system notification immediately pings in the air. Paralysis status effect has been applied, confirming that her body has completely shut down from the shock. Kim Ho doesn't even follow up with another attack. He just looks down at her with those cold, piercing eyes and says, "Let's stop here." He's not even trying to win anymore. He's just ending the match because it's a waste of his time. You can feel the tension in the room reaching a breaking point. If he can humiliate a Topaz Tower elite this easily, what does that mean for the rest of the academy? Kim Ho leans casually on his staff, looking completely unfazed by the chaos he just caused. He calmly tells his opponent, Hong Yunhua, that she should save her remaining cards for the matches that actually matter. Talk about a total power move. He's literally coaching an elite ranker mid-fight like she's a beginner. Honestly, the level of disrespect here is off the charts, and you can see the sheer frustration boiling over in her eyes. A massive holographic scoreboard flickers to life in the center of the arena, displaying the final results. It's official. Kim Ho takes the win, leaving the high-ranking Hong Yunhua with a crushing loss. The entire stadium is buzzing with pure disbelief because nobody expected a support to dominate like this. You can almost hear the collective, "What just happened?" from every single student in the stands. The camera pans over the whispering crowd as they try to process the technique they just witnessed. Kim Ho realizes he messed up and stood out way more than he intended, muttering to himself that he needs to be more careful from now on. But the academy isn't done with him yet. The announcer immediately calls his name for the very next round without a second of rest. It's like they're trying to force him to show his hand, and the tension is getting thick enough to cut with a knife. A new name flashes on the screen, Song Chun-hai, a legendary name from the Topaz Tower. She steps onto the field with a fierce, orange-tinted ponytail and a gaze that could melt steel. She looks at Kim Ho and tells him how lucky she feels to be facing him right now. You can feel the heat radiating off her. She's not just here to win, she's here to reclaim her tower's pride after he humiliated her teammate. Kim Ho stands there for a long, silent moment, just staring at this walking inferno of a girl. Then, with the most, "I'm done" expression you've ever seen, he simply raises his hand and announces he's withdrawing from the match. The entire arena goes dead silent. He's forfeiting. He literally just looked at one of the strongest students in the school and decided she wasn't even worth his time. Instructor Lee's scarred face twists into a look of absolute shock as he demands to know why. Kim Ho doesn't even look back, casually tossing his staff over his shoulder and claiming he's just too tired to keep going. It's a brilliant tactical move to hide his true power, but now everyone is wondering, what is he actually planning? The mystery behind his real strength is only growing, and you just know this isn't the last time these two will cross paths. Chun-hai stares at Kim Ho in total disbelief as he checks if she's actually going through with the forfeit. He's standing there looking totally unbothered while her hand trembles, clenching into a tight fist of pure frustration. The referee doesn't wait, officially calling it. That's a loss on her record. Man, you can practically feel the steam coming off her head, being pity won by a guy who claims he's just too tired. That's got to sting. Chun-hai screams at his back, telling him to always be prepared for battle, but Kim Ho just keeps walking. She's not just angry, she's insulted that he's treating this elite academy like a casual walk in the park. She stands tall, radiating a desperate kind of resolve, vowing that she'll be the one to reach the top. Honestly, that's the kind of main character fire you love to see, even if she's currently being played like a fiddle. Kim Ho's eyes narrow slightly as he catches her gaze over his shoulder. He thinks to himself that her stubbornness is exactly like her grandfather's, the legendary Thunder Monarch. He figures his advice is actually worth remembering for a future hero, but then immediately reminds himself that none of that hero stuff has anything to do with him. He's playing a completely different game than these kids, and he knows it. He waves a hand dismissively, telling her to just tell people she won if it makes her feel better. Talk about adding salt to the wound. Chun-hai crosses her arms, looking like she wants to explode, muttering about how she's an idiot for even having a shred of hope in him. It's official. Kim Ho is the undisputed king of being unimpressive and incredibly annoying at the exact same time. Suddenly, the vibe in the arena shifts as a heavy pressure fills the air. A student in a blue suit begins to emit a massive surge of mana, catching everyone's attention. Chun-hai's eyes go wide. It looks like the easy part of the day is officially over. Who is this guy, and why does he feel like a literal walking disaster? Blue lightning crackles around Chun-hai's neck as the speakers announce her next match against Yang Ji-hong. She turns to find a girl with fiery red hair and a massive staff staring her down with a smug grin. It's a representative from the Topaz Tower, and she looks like she's ready to turn this arena into a furnace. Chun-hai is desperate to reclaim her pride after the mess with Kim Ho, but can her lightning handle this much heat? This is going to be a total bloodbath. A massive start notification flashes over a backdrop of crackling, violent blue electricity. Song Chun-hai isn't just fighting, she's rewriting the weather, unleashing a jagged storm that leaves the entire arena blindingly white. Just check out that scoreboard, a 100% to 0% wipeout against Yang Ji-hong. It's a total massacre. Honestly, calling this a match is an insult. You don't walk away from a lightning strike like that without some serious permanent trauma. Kim Ho watches from the sidelines as the heavy smell of ozone fills the air. A fellow student mutters about how the loser is basically a human charcoal briquette, and looking at the smoke, he's not exaggerating. Below, the medical team is already scurrying to haul the body away on a stretcher, while Chun-hai just stands there, her face set in a terrifying, icy glare. Seriously, if she's the benchmark for the elite, the rest of these students are basically just moving target practice. Kim Ho keeps his cool, observing the girl everyone calls the Thunder Monarch's successor with a chillingly analytical gaze. But the crazy part? He's actually smiling while the crowd behind him starts spitting venom, calling him a coward and a lucky fraud. They're convinced his previous win was just a fluke because he chose to forfeit his own match here. It's wild how fast people turn on you, but Kim looks like he's enjoying the insults a little too much. A sharp close-up on Kim's mouth confirms the truth. This cowardly reputation is the exact trap he was aiming for. He's hiding in plain sight, letting everyone think he's a joke while the real monsters reveal their hands. But the atmosphere shifts instantly when the announcer calls the next bout, the lightning prodigy Song Chunhai versus the sleepy-eyed Seo Yi-in. The students are already calling it a funeral for the poor soul fighting her, but with that golden aura flaring up in the arena, this might not be the one-sided beatdown everyone expects. Is it just me, or is the air getting even heavier? Shin Byung-chul leans over his notebook with a look of pure confusion. He admits that even as the academy's top informant, he had no clue this specific matchup was coming, but he doesn't hesitate to toss 5 silver coins down as a bet. He's putting it all on the lightning prodigy, Song Chunhai, convinced that as long as she sticks to the basics, there's no way she can lose to a sleepy girl like Yi-in. Honestly, seeing how smug he is about the odds, a small part of me really wants to see him lose that money. But can you blame the guy? Chunhai is a literal force of nature. A massive digital scoreboard flickers to life above the arena, showing both girls at a full 100% health. The second that the start signal flashes, Seo Yi-in undergoes a total transformation, drawing 2 heavy silver pistols with lethal, practiced precision. She's not just some dazed student, she's a gunner, and she immediately fills the air with glowing green mana rounds. It's a classic, high-stakes matchup, long-range firepower versus raw magical talent. The big question is, can a mage even chant fast enough to stop a bullet once it's already left the barrel? Dozens of vibrant green energy streaks rain down across the arena like a deadly mana meteor shower. Yi-in is pouring every ounce of her focus into this opening volley, her hair flying wildly as she tries to suppress the disciplinary committee's top ace before she can even move. It's a relentless, high-speed execution attempt that leaves absolutely no room for error. You can practically feel the friction and heat coming off those mana shells from the stands. If even one of those hits home, it's game over for the orange-haired prodigy. Song Chunhai stands her ground as jagged blue lightning crackles violently around her gloved hand. With a single, sharp motion, she generates a static field that shreds the incoming bullets into nothingness before they can even graze her uniform. Shin Byung-chul is practically falling out of his seat in shock that such a heavy, suppressive attack was neutralized so effortlessly. Kim Ho just watches with those cold, analytical eyes, realizing that for someone like Song Chunhai, this wasn't a desperate defense, it was just a warm-up. But if her best opening move just got swatted away like a fly, what the hell is Yi-in supposed to do next? Jagged blue lightning arcs across the arena as Song Chunhai charges up. She isn't just strong, her mana reserves are so massive that even a low-rank spell looks like a high-tier nuke in her hands. Seriously, how are you even supposed to dodge something that fills the entire stage? Yi-in is barely keeping her head on her shoulders, twisting through the air as the ground literally melts behind her. She's fast, but you can tell the sheer pressure is starting to wear her down. Chunhai's eyes lock onto her target with terrifying focus. A beam of pure mana screams past Yi-in's face, close enough to singe her hair as she tumbles backward. One mistake and it's game over, no questions asked. Yi-in hits the floor hard, struggling to keep her grip on her weapon while her breath hitches. Up in the stands, Kim Ho narrows his eyes, noticing that her movements are getting heavier with every second. The lightning prodigy is basically a human battery, and she's just waiting for Yi-in to run out of gas. Chunhai stands there looking like a final boss, her mana bird chirping with lethal intent. She raises her hand to finish it, but Yi-in's hand suddenly dives into her tactical pouch. Wait, is she really going for a Hail Mary right now? A small metallic cylinder clangs against the stone floor just as Yi-in kicks off the ground to find cover. A massive cloud of white smoke erupts instantly, swallowing both girls and blocking the entire line of sight. Talk about a total reset, she just blinded the strongest student in the academy. Shin Byung-chul nearly jumps out of his skin, screaming that it's a brilliant move. Kim Ho stays silent, watching the smoke swirl as he realizes Yi-in just bought herself the only thing that matters in a fight like this, time. Honestly, using a low-tech smoke grenade against a magic genius is top-tier disrespect. Inside the cloud, Chunhai's face twists into a snarl of pure frustration. She's used to being the hunter, but now that she's blind, the rules of this game just changed completely. But the real question is, what is Yi-in planning to do from inside that fog while her opponent is vulnerable? Chunhai stands frozen as the gray smoke swallows her whole. Suddenly, a streak of green energy tears through the fog, slamming into her before she can even blink. You can see the absolute shock on her face. She's spent her whole life being the predator, and now she's being treated like a sitting duck. It's wild seeing a top-tier genius look this rattled. Sparks fly as Chunhai barely manages to stabilize her mana. She groans, realizing her magic barrier was the only thing that saved her from a direct, fight-ending hit. Through the haze, Yi-in emerges like a ghost, cold and calculated, already aiming a massive rifle for the next shot. The pacing here is insane. Yi-in isn't just fighting, she's conducting a masterclass in psychological warfare. Kim Ho watches the screen with his usual calm, but his informant, Byung-chul, is practically vibrating with excitement. He realizes Yi-in isn't just using skill, she's flexing a literal invisibility cloak, which costs a fortune. Switching to a rifle to exploit that stealth was a genius move. Seriously, who brings a sniper to a magic fight? Yi-in does, and it's working perfectly. The scoreboard updates, and the arena goes dead silent. Yi-in is actually leading with an 88% score, leaving the lightning prodigy trailing behind at 85%. Chun-Hai lets out a sharp TSK, her eyes darting around the smoke as her frustration reaches a boiling point. The pressure is starting to crack her perfect image, and the crowd is losing their minds over the potential upset. Chun-Hai's eyes turn cold as she realizes she can't win by just playing it safe. Another high-speed projectile slams into her blue hexagonal barrier, sending ripples of electricity through the air. She's done being the punching bag. She mutters, "Right, now," and the atmosphere shifts instantly. You can feel the static building. She's about to stop holding back. But can Yi-in survive the storm that's coming? Song Chun-Hai's gloved hand clenches as jagged blue electricity surges through her entire body. She isn't just casting magic anymore, she's becoming the storm, moving with a predatory speed that leaves the air humming. "Gotcha," she whispers, her eyes lighting up with a dangerous, focused glint that says the playtime is officially over. Honestly, if I saw that look coming at me in a dark alley, or a bright arena, I'd probably just pack it up and go home. She knows Yi-in is cornered, and she's about to drop a level of power that honestly shouldn't be allowed in a school exam. A massive, screeching bird made of pure, high-voltage lightning erupts from her palm, swallowing the arena in a blinding blue haze. The impact is absolutely deafening, sending shockwaves through the floor as Yi-in is completely engulfed by the soaring mana. It's a total sensory overload, and you can practically feel the static through the screen. You have to wonder if the teachers are just going to sit there and let a student get vaporized. The sheer mana density Song is outputting right now is insane. She's not just winning, she's sending a message to everyone watching. The dust finally settles just as the scoreboard hits 0, showing Song Chun-Hai at 85% while Yi-in has dropped to 68%. The timer is the only thing that stopped the slaughter, but the gap in their standing is clear. Kim-ho watches from the stands, his face a mask of cold calculation while the rest of the crowd is absolutely losing their minds. Students are whispering in disbelief, "No way, did she actually lose?" It's a huge shock because Yi-in was supposed to be the Academy's untouchable genius. But as Song Chun-Hai stands there victoriously adjusting her gloves, it's obvious, she has no rivals among the freshmen. The screen officially flashes, win, for Song and lose, for Yi-in, who collapses to the floor, totally spent and covered in soot. But here's the crazy part. Kim-ho isn't looking at her with pity. He's actually impressed because holding out against a literal monster like Song until the clock ran out is a feat very few could pull off. Most students would have been on a stretcher within the first 10 seconds of that lightning bird appearing. Meanwhile, in the background, the mood shifts as someone casually asks for their 5 silver from a bet. The Academy is a Shark Tank, and while the fighting stops for now, the real power games are just getting started. What's Kim-ho going to do with this new data on the Academy's strongest? A young man with a distinct red sash stands centered in the arena, his hand hovering over his blade. Go Hyun-woo looks remarkably calm for someone about to face a monster, telling his opponent that he's about to change his mind. But then the camera pans to the back of a massive, muscular figure, and the air in the stadium just freezes. This isn't just some random brawler, it's Jo Byok, the direct disciple of the legendary Fist King. Honestly, if I saw those boulder-sized shoulders across from me, I'd be checking for the nearest exit, not making threats. Up in the stands, the betting game is already in full swing as Shin Byung-chul watches the tension rise. He's practically convinced that the Fist King's disciple is going to sweep this match without even breaking a sweat. But Kim-ho just gives that small, analytical smirk and decides to bet on the other side. Byung-chul is totally losing his mind, asking what that even means, but Kim-ho's logic is cold and simple. He never said Go Hyun-woo was actually going to lose. It's that classic, God-tier, confidence that makes you wonder what kind of secret potential he's seen in the kid. Down on the floor, Go Hyun-woo glances up at the seating, his eyes locking onto where his senior is sitting. He whispers to himself that Kim Hyung is watching, and you can see the sheer pressure and pride warring in his eyes. He knows this won't be the easy win he hoped for, especially when Jo Byok starts getting vocal. Jo tells him to quit playing games and draw the heavy sword strapped to his back, but Go just shakes his head with a serious look. He claims now isn't the time to reveal his full hand, which is either incredibly brave or a total death wish. Jo Byok isn't the type to wait around, and he tells Go that it's a shame he's holding back because he won't be showing any mercy. He drops into a low, terrifying combat stance, basically daring the swordsman to even try and find an opening. The hype is through the roof as Go Hyun-woo draws a smaller, secondary blade instead of his primary weapon. The system score flashes on the screen. Both fighters are at a full 100% readiness, signaling the start of a peak battle. This is a clash of legacies, and with Kim-ho watching every move, Go has to prove he's more than just a benchwarmer. Can he actually pull off an upset without his main sword? A mysterious student sporting a long red sash stands his ground as a mountain of a man charges him. The muscular brawler isn't holding back for even a second, closing the distance in a single, explosive leap that shakes the arena floor. Sashgai manages to stay light on his feet, parrying the initial flurry with precise, fluid movements, but the sheer physical pressure is suffocating. Then, things get dangerous when the brawler's fist begins to glow with a searing, golden mana. Man, you can almost feel the heat coming off that punch. This guy is clearly trying to end the match with one hit. The brawler's fist connects squarely with the student's sword, creating a massive shockwave that rattles the spectators in their seats. Sashgai grits his teeth, his arms shaking visibly as he desperately tries to divert that overwhelming force. He's sent skidding backward dozens of feet, his boots carving deep, jagged lines into the solid stone floor. He realizes that even with his specialized impact absorption skills, he's barely hanging on by a thread. Basic attacks are officially off the table. He needs something much stronger if he's going to survive this onslaught. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts as a cold, purple-blue light begins to bleed from the student's blade, drowning out the brawler's golden glow. He's not backing down anymore, he's choosing to settle the score right here, right now. The words, "the blue sword technique," flash across the scene like a death sentence. This isn't just some flashy move. It feels like a high-tier secret technique being revealed for the first time. You can see the icy focus in his eyes as he centers his weight, preparing to gamble his entire mana pool on a single, decisive strike. The muscular brawler lunges in for a final crushing blow, confident his power will break the student's defense once and for all. But he's walking straight into a tidal wave. With a massive, earth-shattering, KRAAK, a colossal arc of blue energy tears through the air. It's a perfect, high-speed slash that catches the brawler mid-air, sending him reeling back in a shower of sparks and shattered mana. The power dynamic just flipped in a single heartbeat. But as the smoke begins to clear, the big question remains, did that one desperate hit do enough to keep a monster like that down? Joe Bayok sheathes his blade with a heavy, resigned sigh. Despite the intensity of the previous exchange, the swordsman with the red sash realizes he's reached his limit and forfeits to the muscular brawler, Go Hyen Woo. It's a bitter pill to swallow, seeing a genuine talent just give up because his gear couldn't keep up with the raw power of his opponent. Kim Ho watches him walk away, his eyes narrowing as he spots Joe's shattered iron sword. He actually remembered this guy from the train ride here and had some high hopes for his potential. But in a world where mana reserves and equipment are everything, raw skill can only take you so far. It's a cold reminder that if Kim doesn't stay ahead of the curve, he could end up exactly like that, broken and sidelined before the real fight even starts. Shin Byung-chul is practically vibrating with anxiety, clutching his head in total shock at the level of combat he's witnessing. He's rambling about how unbelievable the power gap is until Kim Ho steps in and physically shuts him up. Kim's hand drops onto the guy's shoulder like a lead weight, and the look in his eyes tells you he's done with the theatrics. Shin tries to pull the "I'm broke" card to get out of their earlier deal, but Kim Ho isn't here for petty cash or excuses. He needs the real currency of the Dragon Slayer Academy, intelligence. When Kim demands the payment, Shin finally stops squirming and produces a thick black notebook. This is exactly what we've been waiting for, the hidden blueprints of the Academy's power structure and the secrets everyone else is too distracted to notice. The midday sun hits the Academy tower as the students are dismissed for a quick lunch break. Most of the kids are just lounging on the grass, laughing and speculating about who's going to win the next round, but Kim Ho doesn't do relaxing. He's sitting in a small circle with the sleepy Seo Yi-in and a very nervous Shin, turning the peaceful park into a tactical war room. He starts pressing for the deep lore, the four great factions that actually pull the strings in this reality. You can feel the tension shifting from the physical arena to a strategic one as Shin mumbles about the heavy hitters. Kim Ho is playing a dangerous game of chess while everyone else is just playing tag. But as he digs deeper into these factions, you have to ask, is he hunting the monsters, or is he just putting a target on his own back? Kim Ho leans in close to Shin, his expression dead serious as he demands the names of the heavy hitters from the four great factions. Shin explains that while the Academy has its official groups, these four massive organizations are the ones truly pulling the strings from the shadows. We see the silhouettes of the Guild Union Mages, the Magic Tower Society, and the heavily armored Knight Order. It's pretty obvious that Kim isn't just looking for a sparring partner. He's building a hit list of the people who actually run this world. A dark screen highlights the names of the absolute monsters from the Muram Alliance. We're talking about Moyong Hyen Seong, the grandson of the legendary Sword Saint, and the powerhouse known as Moyong Jun. Then, the focus shifts to a striking red-haired girl in a sleek academy blazer, Hong Yunhua, the representative of the Magic Tower Society. These aren't just talented students. They're walking legacies with enough backing to crush anyone who gets in their way. You can almost see Kim Ho calculating exactly how he's going to deal with them. A girl with short green hair smiles brightly, looking completely harmless despite the literal tiger perched on her shoulder. This is the druid, Park Nari, and she's immediately followed by a guy who looks like he's made of pure cold steel, Lee Song-hyun, the son of the sword master. Lee stands in front of a golden aura of blades, looking like he could end a fight before his opponent even breathes. Shin admits these are the only ones he'd call uniquely strong in the entire school. It's a terrifying lineup, but Kim Ho just takes it all in without breaking a sweat. Shin's eyes suddenly bug out of his head as he realizes he's lost track of his own priorities. He starts panicking, wondering where Hyun-woo disappeared to, and shouts about needing to find the club president before sprinting away across the grass. Kim Ho watches him bolt, a small, knowing smirk playing on his lips as he sees the informant vanish. It's a quiet moment, but the tension is rising. Who is this president that has someone like Shin so terrified? Kim's got the names, but the real game is only just beginning. Kim Ho sits quietly on the grass, watching Seo Yi-in as she absent-mindedly chews on her snack. As he looks at her, a heavy thought crosses his mind. She's the very first genuine bond he's managed to forge since being dropped into this survival of the fittest reality. Up until now, everyone was just a pawn or a potential obstacle, but she's different. It's a quiet, surprisingly human realization for someone who usually keeps his heart under lock and key. Honestly, seeing him finally value a person over a strategy is the character development we've been waiting for. Kim breaks the silence by mentioning that the lightning prodigy, Song Chun-hai, actually sent him a dessert coupon earlier. He produces a box containing a perfect blueberry cake, light and shimmering with manna-infused freshness, and offers it to Yi-in. He nudges the box toward her, suggesting they eat together as a small break from the academy's relentless chaos. It's a small, gentle gesture, but for a girl who's always off in her own world, this kind of kindness is clearly a rarity. Plus, who can say no to free cake? Kim takes a big bite of the cake, his cheeks bulging as he waits for her to speak. Yi-in finally looks down at the grass, her voice small and dejected as she admits she lost her match to the academy's disciplinary officer, Song Chun-hai. Kim doesn't miss a beat, trying to comfort her by explaining that Chun-hai's mana reserves are simply on a different level, making her overwhelming strength normal for her rank. He's trying to be the voice of reason, but you can see that Yi-in's defeat is weighing on her more than she's letting on. Yi-in's eyes widen in genuine shock when Kim casually brings up the specifics of her magic bullet mana training. The air between them shifts instantly as she reveals the impossible. She has never actually performed mana training a single day in her life. Kim's jaw practically hits the floor as he grills her, asking how she even managed to create a magic bullet without the absolute foundation of magic. This isn't just talent we're looking at, we're talking about a girl who is breaking the fundamental laws of this world's power system. Yi-in just stares back at him with a confused tilt of her head, a literal question mark hovering over her as she fails to see the big deal. Kim is left reeling, realizing he's been sitting next to the biggest wild card in the entire academy, a girl who is elite tier by pure accident. As the sun sets on the exams, a chilling question remains. If she's this strong without even trying, what kind of monster will she become once Kim Ho actually starts showing her how to use that power? Kim Ho and Seo Yi-in are chilling on the academy grass when she casually drops a total bombshell. She admits she's never even learned the basic, magic bullet, skill, leaving Kim Ho looking absolutely floored. I mean, look at his face, he's realizing he's sitting next to a literal natural-born monster. Yi-in looks back with those quiet, innocent eyes, completely unaware of how insane her statement actually is. If she's been hitting every target purely on instinct without even using mana, her raw talent is off the charts. It's actually kind of scary to think about what she'll do once she actually learns the basics. Kim Ho offers to personally help her train, and she gives him a small, trusting nod. He's playing the supportive teammate for now, telling her she did well today, but you can see the wheels turning in his head. He knows he's found a diamond in the rough, but there's no time to celebrate. A start notification interrupts the piece. It's finally time for the high-stakes placement exam. The group moves into the dungeon wing, and the vibe shifts from afternoon chat to life-or-death struggle in a heartbeat. The academy isn't playing around anymore. The students gather in a dimly lit hall, looking like a pack of nervous recruits before a war. Then, Instructor Lee, the man they call the Human Butcher, appears with a system screen for the Mist Forest. With a strict 10-minute limit and a focus on high scores, the pressure is officially through the roof. Now we get to see if Kim Ho can keep his average student act alive while the Butcher is watching his every move. A dark, misty forest fills the screen with a notification about high scores. The mission is straightforward. The number of monsters you take down in 10 minutes determines your rank, with a focus on high-quality kills. Honestly, 10 minutes feels like a lifetime when you're surrounded by things that want to eat you. It's the ultimate race against the clock. A blueprint of a human body shows a glowing mana core being suppressed by chains. This is a fixed zone, a brutal environment where everyone's equipment, skills, and traits are reset to a measly F rank. Even your core drops to the lowest level, making mana management the only thing keeping you alive. Talk about a total handicap. they're basically stripping these elite students of their status and ego. The students stand in a line, looking anxious as Instructor Lee gives his final, cold warning. He tells them they'll regret it if they're careless with their mana before calling them into the forest one by one. The title card drops, signaling that the Fixed Zone arc is officially in motion. You can just feel the dread radiating off these kids as they realize their power is gone. The aftermath shows students collapsed on the floor, panting and looking completely broken. Most of them are whining about how awful and unfair the test is because they can't rely on their usual high-rank cheats. It's a total reality check for the ones who thought they were special. Seeing these arrogant types fall apart like this is actually kind of satisfying, isn't it? Instructor Lee stares at the live leaderboard with a look of pure disgust on his scarred face. Only 2 students, like Hansomi with her 928 points, are doing anything even remotely worth mentioning. He's already getting a headache just thinking about how much work these weaklings need to be passable. He's looking for a real monster, and so far, he's only found house cats. The camera pivots to Seo Yi-in and Kim Ho as their names are finally called to enter the zone. Kim Ho doesn't look nervous at all. He leans in and tells Yi-in that for this specific exam, she needs to swap her usual gear for a mana rifle. He's already calculating the most efficient way to break the system while everyone else is struggling to breathe. Now the real question is, how much of his true power is he going to let the butcher see? Yi-in grips the glowing mana rifle and nods, fully trusting Kim Ho's weirdly specific tactical advice. Meanwhile, Yeonhwa is watching from the sidelines with her arms crossed, looking completely unimpressed. She's literally scoffing, wondering why a guy who isn't even a gunner is acting like a pro coach. Honestly, her skepticism is fair, but she has no idea what he's actually capable of. Kim Ho just gives a casual wave and steps toward the gate, telling the group he'll see them on the other side. As he crosses the threshold, a massive system alert flashes across the screen, entering the fixed zone. This is where the training wheels come off and the real pressure starts. Can he actually maintain his average facade in a place this intense? He steps into the eerie, fog-drenched mist forest, noting with a cold smile that it's been a long time since he stood in a place like this. The system confirms that all his skills, traits, and equipment are being scaled to a fixed rank for the duration of the exercise. This is exactly what he wanted. It's the ultimate way to gauge his raw combat sense without his massive stats doing the heavy lifting. A 10-minute timer appears in the air as Kim Ho cracks his neck, ready to finally loosen up. He pulls out a simple wooden staff that begins to hum with a sharp, blue mana edge. The system screams, "Start," and the atmosphere immediately turns heavy. The average student act is officially on pause, and things are about to get violent. A grotesque, green sludge monster with glowing red eyes lunges from the shadows, looking like a nightmare version of a goblin. Kim Ho doesn't even blink, swinging his staff in a blurring, high-speed arc. The impact is brutal, catching the creature right in its gnashing teeth and tearing through its liquid body like paper. He's moving way too fast for a normal student. But wait, if he keeps this up, won't the instructors notice the data doesn't match his rank? Kim Ho hurls a sharp blade into the shadows with zero hesitation. While everyone else is lost in the fog, he's already figured out the secret logic of the mist forest. It's pattern C. He's not just surviving, he's hunting. He draws a second knife, his eyes locking onto a specific point in the trees as he whispers, "There it is." It's actually scary how he's treating a deadly exam like a simple puzzle. If he knows exactly where they're spawning, the monsters don't even stand a chance. A hulking orc with long white hair lunges out of the brush, brandishing a massive, rusted axe. Kim Ho doesn't even blink, weaving through the creature's guard and putting it down with a sickening thud before it can even let out a roar. The speed of his counterattack is way beyond what a normal student should be capable of. Seeing him move like a ghost in the dark is honestly giving me chills. He's making the human butcher's training look like a walk in the park. Kim Ho casually drops his wooden training staff and hoists the orc's giant iron axe over his shoulder. He realizes there's no point using weak academy gear when he can just borrow high-tier weapons from the monsters he kills. It's a genius move, but also a total flex. He's ready to start racking up serious points, but here's the real problem. If he starts a massacre with a weapon that big, he's going to leave a trail of evidence that his average persona can't explain. Can he really keep his secret safe if he turns the forest into a graveyard? Grotesque sludge trolls crawl out of the darkness, their liquid bodies dripping with malice. Kim Ho finds himself pinned as 2 more massive monsters spawn right behind him. Most students would be screaming for help right now, but he just checks his position with chilling composure. It's almost scary how calm he is while being surrounded by literal nightmares. Kim Ho pauses mid-slaughter as a system prompt pops up, asking to save his combat replay. He looks at his score, 683 points in just 3 minutes, and his face immediately drops. This isn't just a win, it's a neon sign telling the world he's a monster. If he saves this data, every great faction in the country will be hunting him down by morning. Seriously, his biggest enemy right now isn't the monsters, it's his own talent. He ruthlessly deletes the record and turns his back on the battlefield. He's hit the subquest goal, and in his mind, anything more is just unnecessary attention he can't afford. He steps through the shimmering blue portal, leaving the carnage behind and re-entering the quiet halls of the academy. But as he walks out, he's greeted by a familiar silver-haired presence waiting in the shadows. He thinks he's hidden his tracks perfectly, but you have to wonder, did someone catch a glimpse of what he's really capable of before the data vanished? The human butcher is still out there watching, and Kim Ho might have just made himself the most interesting target in the school. Seo Yeon stumbles out of the shimmering blue portal, looking completely drained as she clutches her mana rifle. She managed to secure 781 points, putting her in the top 21%, but she looks like she's been through a literal war zone. When she sighs that it was hard, Kim Ho just gives her that calm, supportive smile. Honestly, seeing a talent like her this wiped out makes you realize how brutal this exercise actually is. Instructor Lee narrows his eyes at Kim Ho, his mind flashing back to the kid's pathetic performance during the earlier PvP rounds. He still sees Kim Ho as a quitter, a guy who doesn't have the heart to be a dragon slayer because he forfeited when things got tough. He's looking at him with pure, scarred skepticism right now. It's wild how much this guy values grit over everything else, and Kim Ho is failing his vibe check hard. Lee's expression suddenly shifts into a grimace of confusion as he scans the newest data on his tablet. Kim Ho somehow hit a mid-high tier ranking of 683 points in an impossibly short window of time. The efficiency is literally unheard of, and the human butcher knows something is wrong. He realizes that while the rest of the class sees a loser, he might be looking at a monster hiding in plain sight. Lee calls out Go Hyun-woo for the next round, warning him to be careful as the names of the real monsters start flashing on the leaderboard. We see the top three, Lee Song-hyun, Han So-mi, and the Sword Saint's grandson, Moyong-jun. These kids are absolute prodigies, clashing steel with enough force to shatter the air itself. But if these are the peak elites of the academy, it makes you wonder, what happens when Kim Ho finally stops hiding? Kim Ho watches the scoreboard with a cold, calculating gaze. Suddenly, the screen flickers and Go Hyun-woo's name rockets to the absolute top with a massive 1,023 points. He actually jumped over the academy's golden boys to snatch first place. Honestly, seeing those top-tier elites get bumped down by a supposed underdog is just so satisfying. Go Hyun-woo steps through the flickering blue energy of the exit portal, looking exhausted but focused. The crowd starts whispering immediately, recognizing him as the guy who stood his ground against the nobles earlier. He walks straight to Kim Ho, giving him all the credit for the win because of the rest he provided. Man, the loyalty this guy has for Kim Ho is the real deal. The salt in the room is thick as other students start talking trash behind Kim Ho's back. They're calling him a coward for forfeiting the PvP exam while his friend takes all the glory. They have no clue that the coward they're mocking is actually the one pulling every single string from the shadows. It's almost painful how little these people actually know. Kim Ho brushes off the insults with a casual wave, telling a worried Hyunwoo not to sweat the small stuff. But the mood turns heavy when they realize Chunhai's score still hasn't appeared on the leaderboard at all. Kim Ho looks back at the portal, his red eyes narrowing as he realizes the night isn't over yet. Something is definitely wrong, and you can just feel the tension starting to spike again. A flash of blue lightning rips through the dark forest. Inside the dungeon, Song Chunhai is absolutely swarmed by a pack of savage goblins, her academy emblem flickering under the mana pressure. She's fighting for her life, but the monsters aren't going down as easy as she planned. Man, you can really feel her panic starting to set in here. The goblins keep coming even after getting blasted by her electricity. She realizes her wide area attacks are only slowing them down instead of finishing them off. That's when Kim Ho's voice echoes in her head, reminding her that if mana control gets tough, she needs to stop being flashy and just aim for the head. It's crazy how his low-tier advice is the only thing that makes sense right now. Chunhai clenches her fist as sparks of mana surge around her arm like a living storm. She stops trying to hit everyone at once and focuses every ounce of her remaining power into a single, devastating point. Lightning enchant. She delivers a crushing blow that sends a shockwave through the entire area. Now that is a heavy-hitting blow. A digital screen flickers to life, displaying Song Chunhai's final result, 571 points. She steps out of the portal with a heavy sigh, looking completely frustrated that her performance was revealed to the whole class. She thinks it's an embarrassing score, but look at the faces of the other students. If she's this annoyed with a score that high, what does she think of Kim Ho's group? But the real danger is Instructor Lee. He's watching, and he knows something about these scores doesn't add up. Hong Yunhwa pouts with her arms crossed, looking genuinely annoyed at her performance. She's actually upset about her score being embarrassing, which is crazy considering she's at the top of the class. But Instructor Lee doesn't care about her ego right now. He steps forward to officially conclude the placement exam. He tells the exhausted students to go rest and dismisses them, promising that the final results will be out tomorrow. It seems like a normal ending, but you can tell the real drama is just starting behind the scenes. The scarred instructor stares into the distance, his eyes burning with a heavy suspicion. He immediately heads to the academy's private records room and demands to see the replay of Kim Ho's specific exam. The staff member behind the desk is visibly shaken because Lee never takes an interest in individual students. It's a massive red flag for Kim Ho. If Lee's predatory instincts are this sharp, the protagonist's average student act is in serious trouble. The technician's face goes blank as he realizes Kim Ho's replay file is completely missing from the system. It's not just a glitch. The data simply isn't there, meaning Kim Ho somehow wiped his own tracks. Lee doesn't miss a beat, ordering the man to pull the raw dungeon access logs to see the truth. When the data finally pops up, the technician's eyes widen in pure shock. Lee's grimace turns into a cold realization. His hunch was 100% right. But what exactly did he see in those logs that made a seasoned butcher look that stunned? The secret is out, and Kim Ho has no idea he's being hunted. The screen flashes a damning realization. Kim Ho deleted his own combat records on purpose. Instructor Lee's face is a mask of cold sweat as the raw data finally pieces together the impossible truth. Looking at the timestamps for the Mist Forest run, it's clear the kid wasn't just lucky, he's a total monster. At the pace he was moving, he would have shattered the 2,000-point mark in under 10 minutes. Man, imagine having that much power and deciding to just wipe it from existence. It's calculated, and honestly, it's a little terrifying to think about what he's actually capable of. Lee stares at the empty logs, asking the question we're all thinking, why hide those skills? His mind immediately goes to the darkest corners of the Dragon Slayer Academy, a place where enemies are just as common as allies. We see a chilling glimpse of the apostles of the evil god, horned demons and hooded spies lurking in the shadows of the world. If an infiltrator has actually made it inside the academy, Lee knows he has to act fast. He's no longer looking at Kim Ho as just a lazy student, he's looking at him as a high-level threat that needs countermeasures immediately. The technician nervously asks if they should inform the principal, but Lee shuts that down with a sharp look. He knows that if they leak this information without solid evidence, Kim Ho will only hide his true nature even deeper. Lee turns to leave, his eyes lingering on the protagonist's profile one last time with a predatory, intense glint. I'll keep watching for now, he mutters, deciding to play a long, dangerous game of cat and mouse. The butcher is officially on the hunt, and Kim Ho has no idea his average student act just gained a very dangerous front row spectator. Kim Ho stares forward with that trademark calm intensity. We're officially back, and the clock is ticking at 3:27 p.m. inside the Dragon Slayer Academy's internal cafe. This is the calm after the storm of the placement exams. You just know that when Kim Ho is this quiet, his brain is running 1,000 simulations a second. An overhead shot shows Kim Ho and Go Hyun-woo at the counter while Seo Yi-in looks like she's about to collapse. Kim Ho mentions he's finally getting a taste for coffee, but Yi-in is so drained she can barely keep her eyes open as she stumbles off to find a seat. Seeing her this exhausted really puts into perspective how brutal those exams were, even if Kim Ho made it look easy. Kim Ho slides over the drinks and immediately tells Hyun-woo to pull out the catalog they received after class. Hyun-woo looks completely lost, scratching his head because the technical jargon in that book was total gibberish to him. This is exactly why Kim Ho brought them here. He's the only one who actually understands the meta of this school. I honestly don't know where Hyun-woo would be without him. Hyun-woo pulls out his student ID, and a blue holographic screen flickers to life showing a balance of 3,069 points. Kim Ho explains that these points aren't just for show, they are the literal currency of the Dragon Slayer Academy. If you want to survive here, your bank account better be stacked. Seeing those numbers pop up feels like watching a pro player check his gold lead in a high-stakes match. Kim Ho narrows his eyes while looking over the documents, explaining that points buy facilities and gear, but there's something way more important. He brings up a specific message they saw right before leaving the dungeon, something called a replay. The way he says it makes my skin crawl. What exactly can they do with a replay of their battles? If Kim Ho is focusing on this, the next phase of their training is about to get a whole lot more complicated. Go Hyun-woo looks down at a blue folder, his expression going a bit blank as he realizes he might have accidentally signed his life away. He mentions he accepted something without really thinking, and man, that is a total rookie move in a place as cutthroat as this academy. Kim Ho doesn't waste a second, immediately showing him what that signature actually meant by purchasing Han Somi's Dungeon Strategy Replay for 100 points. A glowing blue holographic orb flickers to life, projecting a crystal-clear image of Somi slicing through monsters with surgical precision. It's a literal recording of her every move, her timing, and her combat habits. Honestly, having your secrets sold like cheap pay-per-view is a nightmare scenario for anyone trying to stay at the top. Kim Ho scrolls through a digital interface, revealing that Hyunwoo's own battle replays are already selling like crazy because of his high rank. Hyunwoo stares at his phone in a mix of pride and pure horror, realizing he's suddenly rich in points but completely exposed. Kim Ho's tone turns serious as he drops the heavy truth. This isn't just a quick way to make money. If other students buy your replays, they can study your rhythm, find your blind spots, and build a perfect counter for the next round. Hyunwoo starts visibly sweating, realizing that in the upcoming mana battles, everyone is going to see exactly how weak his core actually is. It's a terrifying thought. Your own success is being used to build a roadmap for your defeat. Kim Ho just smirks, telling him that despite the massive risk, these points are a necessary evil to reach his real goal. He leans in close and mentions a place most students haven't even heard of yet, the special training room. We see a vision of a figure meditating in a chamber overflowing with swirling, intense blue energy that looks 10 times more concentrated than the public areas. This room has much denser mana, allowing a student to build their inner strength at a ridiculous pace compared to the regular facilities. Hyunwoo slams his hands on the table, jumping up in total shock that a literal growth hack like this even exists. Kim Ho has the plan, and now he has the points to buy their way into elite status. But the real question is, with everyone watching their replays, can they get strong enough before the rest of the class catches on to their secret? Hyunwoo stares at the table, his mind racing as he realizes the sheer cost of these elite facilities. 500 points for just 6 hours of use. That's an insane drain on their resources, and Hyunwoo knows if he goes in even once a day, he'll be bankrupt in no time. Kim Ho watches him struggle with the math, staying perfectly composed. It's the classic academy trap. You need the training to get points, but the points vanish the moment you try to get ahead. Honestly, seeing Hyunwoo this stressed makes you realize just how gate-kept the top tier really is. Kim Ho raises a single finger, dropping a bombshell about a season pass that could bypass the costs. But the mood shifts instantly when he explains the catch. To get one, they have to take Moyong Jun's spot in the swordsmanship club. Hyunwoo's face goes pale, and he literally stammers at the suggestion. He knows his current skills aren't even in the same league as a monster like Moyong Jun. It feels like Kim Ho is asking him to climb a mountain with no gear, and for a second, you can see the genuine fear in Hyunwoo's eyes. Kim Ho leans back, closing his eyes as he calmly offers to get the pass for him. Hyunwoo is completely floored. He can't understand why Kim would take on such a burden or how he even plans to pull it off. "What do you want from me?" he asks, sensing the weight behind that offer. Kim Ho finally reveals his real motive. He needs a partner to enter the deep dungeon together once they've both grown. This isn't just a favor. It's a cold, calculated move to secure a loyal tank for the horrors waiting in the lower levels. Kim Ho reaches out, his hand tensing as he asks for a final answer. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut, especially since the deep dungeon is famous for breaking even the best students. But instead of backing down, Hyunwoo's expression hardens into something fierce. He's a warrior who's always craved real strength, and he's tired of being the underdog. He looks Kim Ho right in the eye and declares he's ready to stake his life on this deal. They've officially formed a pact. But with a target like Moyong Jun on the horizon, is Hyunwoo actually ready for the level of violence Kim Ho is about to unleash? Hyunwoo slams his fist against his chest in a sharp, respectful salute. He officially accepts the proposal, calling Kim Ho Hyung with a level of loyalty that's honestly a bit scary. While they sit over 2 half-finished iced drinks, Kim Ho sets a tight deadline. He'll have the season pass ready in just 2 weeks. It's a massive promise, but Kim Ho isn't the type to bluff. He knows that while Hyunwoo is busy getting stronger as his public sword, he needs to make a separate move in the shadows. He's already planning his next deal, and it's not going to be a fair one. You have to love how this guy never stops moving. He's always looking for the next exploit. A heavy door with a sign reading Workshop 4 slides open with a metallic groan. Kim Ho steps inside, his eyes scanning a room filled with cluttered workbenches and the smell of ozone. He finds a senior technician hunched over a desk, and with his usual calm demeanor, he simply says, "Hello, senior." The senior doesn't even turn around at first, clearly annoyed by the interruption. There's a thick layer of tension here because freshmen aren't exactly welcome in the specialized engineering labs. It's a bold move, but Kim Ho needs something from this room, and he isn't leaving without it. The senior technician pushes his goggles up, looking absolutely done with life. He tries to dismiss Kim Ho immediately, telling him to go check a different club or workshop, but Kim Ho has a lie ready. He claims he was specifically told to start here, playing the part of the confused junior perfectly. After a frustrated groan and a "seriously," the senior finally snaps and tells him to just take a quick look and get out. The poor guy thinks he's just dealing with a persistent kid, but he has no idea who he just let into his sanctuary. Those purple holographic screens in the background, they might as well be an all-you-can-eat buffet for Kim Ho. The senior turns back to his workbench, hunching over his tools and warning Kim Ho not to bother him. He's focused on a delicate piece of machinery, completely ignoring the predator, standing right behind him. Kim Ho watches with a cold, calculating smile as sparks begin to fly from the senior's hands. He's not just watching, he's analyzing every movement, identifying the magical engineering skill as a solid B rank. This is the moment the trap is set. The senior is working his heart out, but Kim Ho is just waiting for the perfect second to trigger his copy ability. Can he pull it off before the 1-minute timer runs out? Kim Ho's hand hovers just inches away from the senior's back as a system window flashes, using copy. Right under the technician's nose, Kim Ho successfully registers the B-rank skill, magical engineering. Honestly, seeing him pull this off with such a straight face is terrifying. He's basically a ghost in the machine at this point. First goal achieved, and the senior doesn't suspect a thing. Kim Ho starts rummaging through the cluttered workshop while the senior stays glued to his monitor. He isn't just looking for junk, he's hunting for something specific until his eyes lock onto a glowing blue blueprint. That sharp, predatory smirk says it all. He just found exactly what he came for. Now the real game of manipulation begins, and I'm genuinely curious how he's going to walk out with it. Holding up a complex, glowing blueprint of a 10 by 10 by 10 cube, Kim Ho asks the senior if this random item is actually valuable. The senior dismisses it, claiming it has high specs for absolutely no reason and is basically a waste of space. Kim Ho plays the part of the innocent junior perfectly, asking if he can have it since it's just going to be thrown away. It's a masterclass in acting. Making your opponent think your treasure is their trash is a pro-level move. A purple glow fills the screen as Kim Ho spends 1,000 points to acquire a heat catalyst reagent from his system. He doesn't just take the cube for free, he offers the reagent as a trade, knowing full well that engineers can never have enough of them. Look at the senior's face. He goes from whatever to holy crap the second he sees that bottle. Kim Ho is essentially dangling a carrot in front of a very hungry horse, and it's working perfectly. The senior greedily snatches the reagent, telling Kim Ho he can have the blueprint as long as he keeps the deal a total secret. As Kim Ho walks away, he can't help but gloat internally about saving 1,000 points on the deal. He just secured a high-spec blueprint and a B-rank skill for a fraction of their actual value. But with the human butcher calling for deathmatch next, will these technical upgrades be enough to keep him ahead of the pack? This academy is about to get much more violent. Bubbles of text hover over Kim Ho as he processes his recent purchase with a dark, satisfied look. He just dropped a massive 1,000 points on a blueprint that the rest of the academy considers absolute garbage. But is it really trash? He asks himself with that chillingly calm smirk. Everyone thinks he's the world's biggest sucker right now, but honestly, he's just waiting for the punchline that only he knows is coming. A glowing green object, the cube of life, emerges from a sea of digital static and vines. This is the hidden payoff, a genuine S-rank item that was buried inside a quest nobody else was brave, or smart, enough to take. As a guy who's literally raised countless S-rank heroes in his past life, he knows that this one, trash, item is worth more than everything his classmates are currently fighting over. It's the ultimate, I told you so, in the making. Kim Ho's silhouette is framed by the bright blue light of the training center's Mana training room. He isn't going through the usual struggle, he's here to bypass the system entirely. He mutters about knowing how to craft this thing without even touching the long, annoying chain quest. It's such a pro-gamer move. Why play the game the way they want you to when you already know all the shortcuts? A system alert blares, showing his magical engineering rank skyrocketing from B all the way to S rank in a flash. He's triggered amplification, a skill that gives him god-tier crafting talent, but there's a catch. It only lasts for exactly 60 seconds. The timer is already bleeding away at 47 seconds, and the pressure is palpable. This isn't just crafting anymore, this is a high-speed heist against time itself. His fingers are a total blur, slotting tiny blocks into a complex, glowing grid with terrifying precision. He realizes that at a normal pace, this would take 3 full days of work, but he's crushing it in seconds. Suddenly, the system pings, amplification has expired, and his rank drops back down to B. The cooldown starts, the light fades, and the silence returns. But as he stands there in the dark, the real question is, did he finish it in time, or did his 1-minute gamble just blow up in his face? Kim Ho stares intensely at the glowing blue cube pulsing in his hands. He realizes that even with his boosted stats, a 1-minute window for S-rank work is incredibly tight. Man, talk about cutting it close. He's literally gambling on seconds here. Blue aura swirls around his body as he sits in deep meditation on the cold floor. The routine is brutal. 1 hour of meditation followed by 60 seconds of high-speed engineering, over and over. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but his mana is definitely feeling the burn. Suddenly, the duration timer hits 0 and Kim Ho's eyes snap open with sharp focus. The amplification skill kicks in, forcibly dragging his engineering rank from a mediocre B all the way to a god-tier S rank. That jump is insane. he's basically cheating the laws of magic in bite-sized chunks. Kim Ho works feverishly at his desk, his hands moving like a blur over the cube of life. He sets a strict deadline for himself. The project must be finished before this coming Friday. Why the rush? Honestly, he knows something the rest of the school doesn't. Multiple glowing components float in the air as he thinks about that event scheduled for the end of the week. In this academy, events usually mean someone is about to get hurt, and he needs to be ready. The scene shifts as the sun begins to rise over the Gothic arches of the Dragon Slayer Academy. Morning has arrived, officially ending his sleepless night of secret labor. No rest for the genius, I guess. Kim Ho slides into the classroom where the dazed Seo Yi-in is already sitting at her desk. She's surprised to see him so early, but he's immediately scanning the room, looking for his main ally. He's always on a mission, even when he's just walking into a lecture. Kim Ho reaches into his bag and holds out a small paper bag of treats to the silver-haired girl. He offers her some dinosaur cookies to keep her energy up, showing a surprisingly soft side. Seeing this cold strategist hand out snacks is actually kind of wholesome, right? But then, Go Hyun-woo walks in, greeting Kim Hyung with a grin and a wave. He takes one look at the snacks and points out that the dinosaurs are actually just bears. It's a rare moment of peace for the trio, but with Friday looming, you have to wonder how long this normal school life can actually last. What exactly is that event he's so worried about? Kim Ho leans back as he casually asks Hyun-woo how his time in the special training room went. Hyun-woo is practically vibrating with excitement, clenching his fist while admitting his inner strength has never grown this fast before. Kim Ho just gives a calm nod, promising to secure him a season pass as soon as possible to keep that growth streak alive. It's honestly wild seeing Kim play the role of the ultimate benefactor, quietly molding his ally into a powerhouse. A sharp bell cuts through the classroom chatter as a voice commands everyone to quiet down and take their seats. Instructor Lee, the man they call the human butcher, strides to the front of the room with an aura that screams trouble. The students scramble to their desks in a heartbeat because you really don't want to be the one on this guy's radar. The shift from casual snacking to high-alert military discipline is enough to give anyone whiplash. Lee stands before a massive holographic display of a circular arena, his scarred face looking more intense than ever under the blue light. He drops the hammer. Starting today, they're shifting to 10-minute deathmatches on completely random maps. He makes it clear that everyone must complete at least 3 matches this week, or they'll have to answer to him. It's a brutal new curriculum designed to weed out anyone who can't handle high-pressure, unpredictable combat. With a final, booming, "That's all," Lee leaves the classroom in a state of stunned silence. While the other students are likely panicking about the 10-minute limit, we get a close-up of Kim Ho's eyes, and he looks like a predator who just found his favorite game. He isn't worried about surviving. His only thought is that he's going to absolutely win this battle. With his copy ability and analytical brain, a 10-minute chaos fest is exactly the kind of environment where he thrives. But with random maps and unknown opponents, what kind of insane combo is he going to pull off to stay at the top? Instructor Lee stands like a wall in front of a massive holographic display of the Academy arena. He's not just giving a lecture, he's issuing a formal challenge, announcing that the time limit is now 10 minutes on completely random maps. It's a total chaos factor upgrade designed to weed out the weak. He ends with a sharp, "That's all," effectively shutting down any room for complaints or questions. The human butcher really knows how to kill the mood and crank up the tension at the exact same time. Kim Ho ignores the panicked chatter and focuses on the blue system window hovering in his private vision. A new subquest for Week 1 PvP matches has just triggered, demanding 3 victories by midnight for scaled rewards. While everyone else is losing their minds over the deathmatch label, Kim Ho is just calibrating his path to victory. He thinks to himself, "I'm definitely winning this time." That look in his eyes, that's the look of a guy who already has the entire map downloaded into his brain. Go Hyun-woo suddenly stands up, practically vibrating with energy and yelling that they need to head to the arena right this second. He's convinced the first day replays will be the most profitable to sell, and honestly, the guy has a point. He's pushing Kim Ho to hurry up, desperate to get into the action while the hype is at its peak. It's a hilarious contrast to Kim's stoic calm, but you can feel the literal rush as the students begin to scramble. Suddenly, a small hand reaches out and firmly grabs Kim Ho's arm, stopping him in his tracks. It's Seo Yi-in, and she's staring at him with those dazed, intense eyes, whispering that she has time today. Look at that sweat drop and the massive question mark over Kim's head. This is the one variable he didn't calculate: sudden social pressure in front of the entire class. The surrounding students, including a very confused Han Somi, are absolutely stunned, wondering if they're witnessing some high-level, champion, romance or something way more scandalous. But the tension breaks when Yin clarifies she's talking about the magic bullet training they had discussed. Kim Ho is visibly flustered as he quickly agrees, trying to regain his cool. He's a tactical genius on the battlefield, but dealing with Yin's bluntness, that might be the hardest quest he's faced yet. But with their training officially on for tonight, What kind of terrifying upgrade is Kim Ho planning to give her before his own matches begin? Kim Ho waves a casual goodbye to the girls, promising to catch up with them later that evening. The scene transitions to the bright, sun-drenched afternoon outside the massive academy structures. We finally arrive at the arena, a gargantuan stone stadium where the real ranking battles take place. You can just feel the pressure building up here. This is where the students' lives are decided. Honestly, the scale of this place is intimidating, but Kim Ho looks like he's just going for a walk in the park. Kim Ho and Hyunwoo walk together through the stone corridors, but the mood is thick with hostility. In the background, other students are pointing and whispering, calling Kim Ho the coward who forfeited his match against Song Chun-hai. They're looking down on him with pure disgust, thinking he's just a lucky loser who gave up when things got tough. One student even clutches his sword, muttering about how disgraceful it is to have someone like Kim in the academy. It's wild how fast people turn on you when they don't know the full story, but Kim Ho doesn't even blink at the insults. Hyunwoo tries to ignore the noise, calling out Kim Ho's name as they're approached by a red-haired student with a chip on his shoulder. This guy stops them, bragging that he managed to score 300 points on the placement test despite the chaos. He asks Kim Ho what his score was, expecting some pathetic number, but Kim just calmly replies that he also got 300 points. The red-haired guy's face twists in instant rage, unable to believe he's being ranked on the same level as a coward. Seriously, the irony here is peak. This guy is so proud of a score that Kim Ho literally manufactured for himself. The red-haired student starts fuming, shouting that he only ended up with that score because he was unlucky enough to face Song Chun-hai in the second round. He starts complaining about being struck by lightning out of nowhere, which cost him his momentum in the forest. Kim Ho's eyes widen slightly, a subtle, knowing smirk creeping onto his face as the realization hits him like a truck. He looks at the shouting student and simply asks, "That was you?" This is the ultimate, oh no, moment for the red-haired guy, because Kim Ho just realized he's talking to the very person he used as a human guinea pig for his hidden skills. If this guy finds out the truth, the arena is going to turn into a bloodbath. A smug, jagged grin fills the screen as Moyong Jun finally loses his cool. He's standing there, barking at Kim Ho to stop being a coward and come down, so he can show him the massive wall between their ranks. Man, this guy really thinks he's the main character of an action flick, doesn't he? It's almost painful to watch someone act this tough when they're about to get humbled. The official title card drops as we transition straight into the heat of the